Chapter 1160. Yin Xiushan knew about Ning Cheng's strength. Even if he was already at the full circle eternal realm, he didn't dare to be careless. With a wave of his hand, 6 late-stage eternal powerhouses stepped forward at the same time. Xiushan, trap him and burn him with fire. Seeing Yin Xiushan take action, Yi Zhuzhu also brought out a weapon. Her eyes flashed with a hint of madness and joy. She had thought of this scene countless times, and today, she finally did it. She also knew about Ning Cheng's strength. Therefore, she took action to prevent anyone from stopping Yin Xiushan from attacking Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng shook his head and motioned for Ning Ruoqing and the others not to come up. He didn't even move. Instead, he raised his hand and threw out a few Dao patterns. The 6 eternal powerhouses who rushed up were instantly torn into nothingness by the 6 Dao patterns. Only a few rings fell into Zhang Caihe's hands. Yin Xiushan's footsteps paused, and his pupils instantly widened. Born in Butterfly Mountain, he had seen too many powerhouses and geniuses. But he had never seen anyone as strong as Ning Cheng. With just a few Dao patterns, Ning Cheng easily killed 6 late-stage eternal powerhouses. "You're from Butterfly Mountain. Didn't Duan Yi and Duan Wenbai tell you not to mess with my stately river star?" Ning Cheng looked at the dumbfounded Yin Xiushan and spoke with a flat tone. After saying that, he raised his hand and threw out a few more Law Dao patterns. Several huge void airships parked in the distance exploded under the power of these Dao patterns. Countless rings flew out, as if someone had delivered them to Zhang Caihe's hands. Not a single ring was left out. As for the people on those huge void airships, none of them survived. "Senior." Yin Xiushan called out with a dry voice, his voice filled with despair and trembling. Ning Cheng's strength was beyond his imagination. Even if Butterfly Mountain's old ancestor came here, Ning Cheng would have killed him in an instant. He had heard about Ning Cheng's methods. He suddenly hated Yi Zhuzhu for not using sound transmission to talk to him. Instead, she directly asked him to take away Ning Cheng's woman. If Yi Zhuzhu hadn't said that, he might have begged for mercy. Ning Cheng ignored Yin Xiushan and grabbed Yin Xiushan from the void. Then, a fireball started burning around Yin Xiushan's body. Yin Xiushan struggled like a trapped beast. No matter how he struggled, he could not move an inch. Ignoring the struggling Yin Xiushan, Ning Cheng looked up at Yi Zhuzhu and spoke, "I accidentally used the same method to kill your lover a moment ago. To be honest, what you asked a moment ago was really correct. I really did not think that such a day would come. I will kill you and your lover in the same way, Originally, you could have found more lovers for me to kill, but unfortunately, you won't have the chance." Yi Zhuzhu's face turned pale as she looked at Ning Cheng. She knew that Ning Cheng was strong, but in her opinion, even if Ning Cheng was strong, he would only be on the same level as her. But today, she and Yin Xiushan had brought 10 eternal Starry Sky Emperors. But now, several Starry Sky Emperors didn't even have a chance to attack before Ning Cheng turned them into ashes. He had used the same method and the same method to kill the same people as her. She was not as sad about Yin Xiushan's death as Brother Hang's. However, Yin Xiushan was also a man who gave her joy, and was also killed by Ning Cheng. At this moment, Yi Zhuzhu's reaction was completely different from the last time. The first time her brother Hang died, she only had one word in her heart: hatred. Hatred. She wanted to kill Ning Cheng and humiliate him in front of Ning Cheng. But this time, apart from fear, she felt nothing but fear. It was as if no matter when she saw Ning Cheng was an invincible existence, and she could only wait for her death. Yin Xiushan's wailing had already disappeared, and Ning Cheng slowly raised his hand. Yi Zhuzhu's body trembled, and endless oppression descended. She knew that she didn't even have the qualifications to resist. The difference between her and Ning Cheng's cultivation could only be described as heaven and earth. Yi Jin and Chang Manin suddenly knelt down in front of Ning Cheng. The two could only shed tears and couldn't say a word. Ning Cheng understood what they meant and shook his head. "I'm sorry, I can't spare her this time. She touched my bottom line, and I will kill anyone who dares to do so. Ning Cheng, even if I die, I won't let you go. You killed my Dao companion and drove me away, I can't wait to swallow your flesh and blood. Yi Zhuzhu suddenly screamed frantically, her face twisting into a hideous expression. Poof! An arrow of blood flew out, and Yi Zhuzhu's voice stopped abruptly. The weapon in Chang Manin's hand had directly pierced through Yi Zhuzhu's body. Even Yi Zhuzhu's essence spirit was forcibly torn apart by Chang Manin. Ning Qing didn't speak, nor did he move. He could have stopped Chang Manin when she started, but he only restrained Yi Zhuzhu and didn't stop her. Yi Zhuzhu's madness deserved to die. Chang Manin killed her daughter, but in Ning Cheng's view, it was because she wanted to save her daughter. Chang Manin, covered in blood, knelt down next to Yi Zhuzhu's corpse. Ning Cheng clearly saw Chang Manin put away a trace of Yi Zhuzhu's spiritual soul, but he didn't speak. He didn't guess wrong. Chang Manin had used her own hands to save a trace of her daughter's spiritual soul. Although he knew that this trace of spiritual soul couldn't help Yi Zhuzhu survive. As Yi Zhuzhu's parents, Ning Cheng understood Chang Manin and Yi Jin's love for Yi Zhuzhu. He could easily destroy Yi Zhuzhu's spiritual soul, but he couldn't face a mother's love for her daughter. For Chang Manin, no matter how bad Yi Zhuzhu was, she was still her daughter, her flesh and blood. She raised her with one hand. When Yi Jin saw his wife kill his daughter, Yi Zhuzhu, his hair instantly turned snow white. This kind of human tragedy happened to him. Yan Ji rubbed her eyes and couldn't help but speak up, Xiao Cheng, they. Ning Cheng also knew that Yan Ji had also seen Chang Manin leave a trace of her daughter's spiritual soul. She remembered Chang Manin's help and couldn't bear to let Ning Cheng destroy that trace of spiritual soul. With Chang Manin and Yi Jin's abilities, even if they managed to save Yi Zhuzhu would no longer have such heaven-defying qualifications. Maybe it would be better for the Yi Jin couple. Ning Cheng sighed, elder sister Chang, you should leave with brother Yi. There are many ungrateful people, but she's not one of them. You can be ungrateful, but don't bite the hand that feeds you. Since Yi Zhuzhu could cultivate so quickly, she must have some kind of treasure on her. However, Ning Cheng didn't plan to search for it. Even if Yi Zhuzhu had some kind of treasure, it would have fallen into her parents' hands. Both Chang Manin and Yi Jin, who looked pale, knew that they couldn't hide their little tricks from Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng didn't destroy that trace of spiritual soul, giving their daughter a chance to reincarnate. After the two of them bowed to Ning Cheng, they picked up Yi Zhuzhu's corpse and quickly retreated, disappearing into the vast void. Everyone remained silent. Yi Zhuzhu, who had always wanted to destroy Jiangzhou's star and turn it into dust, died. However, no one felt the joy of revenge in their hearts. Everyone felt their hearts clench at the love Chang Manin and her husband had for their daughter. No matter how bad she was still their daughter. Jiangzhou star celebrated. The threat from Nine Jewels' starry sky had been removed, and more importantly, mysterious yellow sect master Ning Cheng had returned. Compared to the enthusiasm of Jiangzhou star, Butterfly Mountain seemed a bit dull. Among the 4 grand starry skies, if there was a place that went beyond the 4 grand starry skies, then it would definitely be Butterfly Mountain. In the past, even the 4 grand starry skies' starry sky heavenly emperors wouldn't be rude to Butterfly Mountain. No matter where Butterfly Mountain's people went, they would always be treated with courtesy. Butterfly Mountain's old ancestor and the 7 grand elders gathered in the assembly hall. If Ning Cheng came here, he would at least know Duan Wenbai. Duan Wenbai was the one who saved Yin Shushan and Duan Qian. Old ancestor, Yi Zhuzhu is just. Among the 7 grand elders of Butterfly Mountain, only Duan Wenbai was familiar with Ning Cheng. But because of his familiarity with Ning Cheng, he had always been wary of Ning Cheng. The old man sitting at the head waved his hand to stop Duan Wenbai's words. Wenbai, do you know who has the fastest cultivation speed in the history of the 4 grand starry skies? Naturally, it's Qisong Heavenly Emperor. Duan Wenbai opened his mouth and spoke. But he only spoke half a sentence before stopping. Old ancestor, you mean, Yi Zhuozhu has the fastest cultivation speed? The old man nodded, yes, Yi Zhuozhu has the fastest cultivation speed. How many years did it take for her to advance from the domain realm to the late-stage eternal realm? You can say that since I started cultivating, I've never seen anyone with a faster cultivation speed than her. She's just a rogue cultivator with no cultivation resources, no support from a sect, and not even an alchemy master. How could she cultivate so fast? Everyone quickly understood, and the old man spoke up in a low voice, that Yi Zhuozhu only has an eternal cultivation, and her strength shouldn't be much weaker than me. If we forced her, I'm afraid it would bring trouble to Butterfly Mountain. Shoshan has done a good job this time. It's a pleasant surprise to find Yi Zhuozhu's favor. Duan Wenbai still felt a bit of a knot in his heart and couldn't help but speak up, old ancestor, that Ning Cheng is also a tricky character. Back then, the ninth prince was so powerful, but he was still killed by him. There's also traceless immortal pawns Wu Yuankong, who can come and go as he pleases in the devil race. If we openly help Yi Zhuozhu, who has a grudge against Ning Cheng, to deal with Ning Cheng's stately river star and night essence celestial river, I'm afraid we'll end up becoming enemies with Ning Cheng in the future. An elder standing across from Duan Wenbai snorted, no matter how strong Ning Cheng is, he's just one person. My Butterfly Mountain isn't the starry sky heavenly emperor of the four grand starry skies. Even Chuan Xinlo has to behave himself and show respect when he comes to my Butterfly Mountain. What's more, the Night Essence Celestial River's teleportation array most likely leads to the Grand Essence Realm. If one day, we can really break through that teleportation array. The elder didn't continue, but everyone understood what he meant. The old man sitting at the head also nodded, Sun is right. No matter how strong Ning Cheng is, he's just one person. But I don't know where that Ning Ruoqing came from. I've seen her battle videos and found them quite strange. The old man had just spoken when a red light flew in. A man sitting next to the old man raised his hand and grabbed the red light. Then, with a look of disbelief, he spoke up, someone killed all the people we left in Thorn-Tooth Lake and sealed it. The man's words had just ended when another voice arrived, reporting to Elder Taoist Sun, my Butterfly Mountain's new elder. Yin Shoshan's soul card suddenly shattered. What? This time, almost everyone suddenly stood up. After Yin Shoshan followed Yi Zhuozhu, his strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Below the 7 Grand Elders, he could even be considered the strongest expert. Coupled with Yin Shoshan coming out of Butterfly Mountain, who would dare to do anything to him? Chapter 1161. Duan Wenbai spoke up with an ugly expression, because Stately River Star has a woman called Ning Ruoqing. She's extremely powerful, and Yi Zhuozhu's 9 jewels starry sky couldn't do anything to Stately River Star. This time, Shoshan took away 10 eternal starry sky emperors from Butterfly Mountain with the purpose of helping Yi Zhuozhu take revenge. Duan Yi, who sat in the seat of honor, also sat down. His face regained its calmness and he spoke up in a low voice, in other words, Shoshan was killed in Stately River Star. Duan Wenbai nodded and spoke up with some worry, if I'm not wrong, Shoshan was killed in Stately River Star. With Stately River Star's strength, it might be able to stop Shoshan and others. But to kill Shoshan, I'm afraid only. Duan Wenbai didn't finish. Instead, a long-haired man next to him added, Wenbai, do you mean that Ning Cheng is back? Duan Yi suddenly stood up again, gather all the people from my Butterfly Mountain and head to the node immediately. Leave this place if you can. Ancestor, why is this so? A middle-aged woman asked in confusion. Butterfly Mountain's ancestor and 7 Grand Elders were present, as well as many eternal starry sky emperors. No matter how strong Ning Cheng was, he couldn't do anything to Butterfly Mountain. Duan Yi spoke up with a gloomy expression, since Ning Cheng dared to kill Shoshan, it means that he doesn't fear my Butterfly Mountain. If I'm not wrong, he most likely went to the Grand Essence Realm and even came back. The Grand Essence Realm is much higher than this place. Even if Ning Cheng's strength is at the bottom of the Grand Essence Realm, our Butterfly Mountain can't do anything to him. Just think about that 9th prince from back then. 9th prince's strength is something that even I can't say I could beat. As long as there's life, there's still revenge. I'm afraid you can't go. I just sealed the node leading to the void from the 4 grand starry skies. Ordinary people can't open it. As the voice fell, a young figure appeared in Butterfly Mountain's meeting hall. Ning Cheng. Duan Wenbai was the first to call out. He knew Ning Cheng too well. Ning Cheng hadn't changed much from when he first saw him. Duan Yi immediately smiled as he cupped his fists and said, I did not expect Sect Master Ning to visit my Butterfly Mountain. Please forgive me for not going out to welcome you. Duan Yi had changed very quickly and the 2 Grand Supreme Elders next to him did not have as much patience as him. The moment they saw Ning Cheng, they immediately understood that Ning Cheng was not a scary person. At least from Ning Cheng, they did not feel any threat, nor did they feel any kind of strength. These 2 Grand Elders were Butterfly Mountain's half-step Dao sculpting experts. After seeing Ning Cheng with their own eyes, why would they care about him? The 2 of them acted at the same time, almost as if they had agreed on it. Duan Yi was right next to them. Naturally, he had sensed their movements immediately. His eyebrows twitched slightly, and he forcefully suppressed the thought of stopping them. He was even prepared to help them at any time. Ning Cheng slowly raised his hand and flicked out 2 time wheels with his finger. These 2 time wheels moved slowly, without even the slightest sharp aura. Yet, they shot towards the 2 Grand Elders. Duan Yi's expression changed. He knew that it was over. These 2 time wheels were so slow that even his spiritual consciousness couldn't keep up. Puff, puff. 4 spurts of blood sprayed out. It wasn't the 2 Grand Elders who fell, but 4 of them. The 4 Grand Elders standing on both sides of Duan Yi immediately fell to the ground. Their essence, spirits and life force completely disappeared the moment the 4 of them fell to the ground. Duan Yi and the remaining 3 people stared at the 4 Grand Elders who fell in a blink of an eye, not knowing what to say. Of the 4 Grand Elders, 2 of them had just brought out their weapons. As for the other 2, Ning Cheng's time wheels had already killed the first 2. Therefore, they decided to take advantage of the situation and kill them. Sect Master Ning, why did you? Duan Yi's voice trembled in defeat. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. When I wasn't at home, the people from Butterfly Mountain kept trying to destroy Jiangzhou Star. I killed the people from Butterfly Mountain, and when I came here to ask why, I found that someone wanted to kill me as soon as I came in. Tell me, why did I do this? While speaking, Ning Cheng raised his hand again, and Sun Yi, who stood next to Duan Yi, died. Duan Yi knew that he couldn't escape today. Butterfly Mountain had provoked Ning Cheng, but Ning Cheng's strength was far beyond what Butterfly Mountain could contend with. Seeing Ning Cheng's murderous intent, he quickly spoke up, Sect Master Ning, my Butterfly Mountain has a treasure. Ning Cheng spoke up in a calm voice, do you want to talk about the treasure that Duan Gantai stole from your Butterfly Mountain? Unfortunately, Duan Gantai isn't here. Duan Yi suddenly became speechless. He no longer cared about the difference in strength between him and Ning Cheng. He raised his hands and shot out a dense ray of light. Once the strength gap reached a certain level, any resistance would be futile. A day later, Ning Cheng returned to Jiangzhou Star. At this time, the news of Ning Cheng destroying Butterfly Mountain spread throughout the starry sky. When Ning Cheng left, Jiangzhou Star's reputation had already reached the level of the 4 Grand Starry Skies. It was also because Butterfly Mountain dared to destroy Jiangzhou Star's defensive array. Apart from Butterfly Mountain, no one dared to attack Jiangzhou Star. But now, Butterfly Mountain, who dared to attack Jiangzhou Star, had turned into dust. Butterfly Mountain had dominated the 4 Grand Starry Skies for countless years, and every time it appeared, something big would happen. Yet, Ning Cheng destroyed such a place with just a raise of his hand. Who would dare to attack Jiangzhou Star? Only a blind person would dare to do so. Jiangzhou Star's mysterious yellow sect's main hall. Almost all the important figures of Jiangzhou Star gathered here. Even 9 Gamma Starry Sky Emperor Luo Xija, who had been hunted down, had returned. Because Ning Cheng was about to leave Jiangzhou Star. The Grand Change Realm could send the Tao Court army to besiege the Grand Essence Realm at any time. If not for worrying about his sister and Luofei, Ning Cheng wouldn't have returned to Jiangzhou Star at this time. Now that Jiangzhou Star had stabilized, Ning Cheng naturally wanted to leave this place and return to the Grand Essence Realm. Jiangzhou Star had too many people, so Ning Cheng couldn't take them all away. Moreover, Ning Cheng's mysterious yellow bead wasn't something anyone could expose. In the end, Deputy Sect Master Tsang Saihe set down a rule that only Starry Sky Emperors with full circle eternal realm strength were eligible to go to the Grand Essence Realm. Even Tsang Saihe couldn't reach the full circle eternal realm. Naturally, no one objected to this condition. As for Ji Luofei, Ning Ruolin, and Ning Ruoqing, they were Ning Cheng's wife and sister. Therefore, it was only natural for them to go with Ning Cheng. In fact, there weren't many people who really wanted to leave Jiangzhou Star. No one knew what kind of place the Grand Essence Realm was. Moreover, they had stayed in Jiangzhou Star for a long time. This place had plenty of medicinal pills, and the Starry Sky Spirit Qi was extremely rich. Moreover, there was no bullying or humiliation in this place. Every business was fair and just. As long as you had the ability, you could get cultivation resources. One could say that among the 4 grand starry skies, how many places were more suitable for cultivation than Jiangzhou Star? Ning Cheng didn't feel that Tsang Saihe's words were wrong. It's just that his strength was still a little low. If his strength was a little higher, he could determine whether the Grand Essence Realm and the 4 grand starry skies were separated by a positional plane. In case one day, he repaired the Grand Essence Realm's heaven and earth laws, would the Starry Sky Emperors of the 4 grand starry skies have a chance to break through the void and ascend to the Grand Essence Realm? Feng Xian hadn't yet returned to the Boundless Realm Palace when he received another message from Ao Beijiang. Ao Beijiang asked him to go to the Grand Change Realm and said that the Grand Change Realm Lord was ready to take action. Out of the 5 Tao Courts of the Grand Change Realm, 4 Tao Courts would send out tens of millions of troops. If Ao Beijiang hadn't said that the Realm Lord Yin Xingwen would take action, and the 4 Tao Courts of the Grand Change Realm would send out their troops, he really didn't want to go back. Even if Ning Cheng was only in the Tao Primordial Realm, he still felt a little afraid of Ning Cheng. Now that the Grand Change Realm sent out tens of millions of troops, more than 5 Tao Perfection powerhouses, and even the Realm Lord came forward, Feng Xian finally couldn't hold back his anger and returned to the Grand Change Realm. Ning Cheng was indeed strong, but no matter how strong he was, the Grand Essence Realm only had 2 Tao Perfection experts. No matter how strong he was, everyone would know about his hidden killing array. He didn't believe that he couldn't kill Ning Cheng with the help of the Grand Change Realm Lord. The first time Ao Beijiang encouraged the Luying Tao Court's army to invade the Grand Essence Realm, it was just a small rumor. But now, the Grand Change Realm's Realm Lord personally took action, and the 4 Tao Courts sent out tens of millions of troops, including at least 5 Tao Perfection powerhouses and even more Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors, to besiege the Grand Essence Realm. This news had spread throughout the void, and even the rest of the 5 Grand Realms had received the news. The 5 Grand Realms were different from the 4 major starry skies. There were many experts here, and even if they were separated by planes, they couldn't stop the news from spreading. Before the 5 Realms Pill competition, not many people knew who Ning Cheng was. After the 5 Realms Pill competition, countless people knew about Ning Cheng. When Lu Dongzi from the Grand Beginning Realm heard the news, he wanted to help immediately. However, he quickly thought it through. The Grand Beginning Realm absolutely couldn't participate in this kind of thing. Even if it wanted to participate, it couldn't help the Grand Essence Realm. It could only help the Grand Change Realm. Otherwise, the Grand Essence Realm would become the next Grand Beginning Realm. Similarly, the Great Ultimate Realm thought the same. No one in the Great Ultimate Realm had a particularly good relationship with Ning Cheng. At the same time, the Great Ultimate Realm didn't help the Grand Change Realm either. After all, the Great Ultimate Realm was facing a similar situation as the Grand Essence Realm. If they didn't help the Grand Essence Realm, they naturally couldn't help the Grand Change Realm either. Only the Great Beginning Realm's atmosphere was different. The entire Great Beginning Realm seemed extremely dignified. The Great Beginning Realm's atmosphere was different not because it learned that the Grand Change Realm had mobilized the Tao Court's army to deal with the Grand Essence Realm. In fact, the Great Beginning Realm didn't take this matter to heart. The Great Beginning Realm was so dignified because it knew that there was another realm with complete laws called the Sacred Tao World. The Sacred Tao World's Heaven-Earth law was complete and not any weaker than the Grand Change Realms. Originally, this wasn't a big deal. In the vast universe, the Grand Change Realm wasn't the only realm with complete laws. An additional Sacred Tao World wouldn't affect anything. The Great Beginning Realm's atmosphere was so dignified because after investigation, they found out that the Sacred Tao World was actually a piece of land that had split off from the Great Beginning Realm. It occupied almost half of the Great Beginning Realm's size. During the Creation War, only the Great Beginning Realm had been blasted apart. Logically speaking, if the Great Beginning Realm wanted to repair the Heaven-Earth law, it had to first fuse the broken plates of the Great Beginning Realm. As for the realm that had split off from the Great Beginning Realm, it was impossible to repair it. However, someone had the ability to repair the Sacred Tao World that had split from the Great Beginning Realm. Furthermore, it had become a complete, independent realm. A piece of land that had split off from the Great Beginning Realm had been successfully repaired and become a high-level land of law in another plane. How could the Great Beginning Realm accept this? Chapter 1162. Like the Great Simplicity Realm, the Great Beginning Realm only had one Tao Court. Apart from the Tao Court, there was no realm lord in the Great Beginning Realm. It was far from the Great Change Realm, which had 5 Tao Courts, several major sects, and even one realm lord. On the contrary, because of the Tao Court, the Great Beginning Realm was more stable than the other realms even though it was broken and its laws were incomplete. It even had a realm protection array. The Tao Lord of the Great Beginning Tao Court was Li Jiancheng. He looked very young, not much older than Mu Zuoxiao, the Great Change Realm's Elixir Association Master. His cultivation level was also at the half-step Tao Integration Realm. Many people felt that if the laws of the Great Beginning Realm were not complete, Li Jiancheng would have already succeeded in Tao integration. Li Jiancheng could become a Tao Lord of a realm not only because of his strength and ruthlessness, but also because he was extremely determined. Anything that others could not accomplish was not a problem for Li Jiancheng. As long as Li Jiancheng wanted to do it, he could do it. Although Li Jiancheng was only at the half-step Tao Integration Realm, the 2 Tao Court Guardians of the Great Beginning Realm were at the Tao Integration Realm. One of them was the famous Tao Integration expert in the Great Beginning Realm, Timothy, and the other was Li Jiancheng's martial uncle, Shao Qiandong. Compared to Ning Cheng, the Tao Lord of the Great Simplicity Realm, who had to use his own means to stabilize his position, Li Jiancheng was the real number 1 person in the Great Beginning Realm. Li Jiancheng was not only determined but also good at listening to other people's opinions. As long as he had not decided on something, anyone could make suggestions. At the moment, in the Great Beginning Realm, Li Jiancheng frowned slightly. He had just heard the news that the Great Change Realm was going to use the Tao Court army against Great Simplicity. What really shocked him was the news about the Sacred Tao World. The Great Beginning Realm was the most divided. As a Tao Court, he naturally knew about it. He was shocked because the realm that had split from the Great Beginning Realm had been repaired by someone and had become a high-level realm of another plane. In the Tao Court, Li Jiancheng did not speak. The others remained silent. No one dared to interrupt Li Jiancheng's contemplation. Yuanhua, tell me everything you know. Li Jiancheng finally broke the silence. Yes, Tao Lord. I have long heard of the Sacred Tao World. When I was in Heavens Beyond, I only knew that the Sacred Tao World was a top-notch realm that was not inferior to the Great Change Realm. Back then, I thought about whether I should go to the Sacred Tao World to gain insight into the Tao Integration Realm. And at this time, I heard something big. The person who spoke was a handsome middle-aged man called Chu Yuanhua who had a mid-stage primordial chaos cultivation level. That was not important. What was important was his position in the Taichu Tao Court. Chu Yuanhua was not just a primordial chaos sacred emperor in the Taichu Tao Court. He was also one of the 10 court pillars of the Taichu Tao Court, ranking 5th. When Chu Yuanhua said that he had heard of a major event, everyone held their breath and listened attentively. Chu Yuanhua paused slightly and took a deep breath. The Grand Primordium Divine inscription appeared in the sacred Tao world and someone learned it. Li Jiancheng, who had been frowning, suddenly stood up and repeated solemnly, Yuanhua, you just said that the great primordial God pattern appeared in the sacred Tao world. The number one divine ability of the great beginning realm that has long been lost, the great beginning God pattern. Not only Li Jiancheng, but everyone else was also staring at Chu Yuanhua. This news was simply too shocking. Ever since the creation war, the 5 major divine abilities of the 5 great realms had almost all been lost. This included the Tai formless divine light, the grand beginning divine light, the grand elemental divine thunder, and the Taiji yin yang. Now, there was suddenly news that the great primordial God pattern had appeared in a realm that had split off from the great beginning realm. Nobody could calm down. Chu Yuanhua said solemnly, I didn't hear wrong. It was indeed the great primordial God pattern. Only the people of the great beginning realm knew that the great primordial God pattern would only be passed down in the great beginning realm. Therefore, I was sure that the sacred Tao world was a part of the great beginning realm. Later, I asked some people who knew about the sacred Tao world in the beyond of heaven and earth, and the information I obtained basically matched my speculation. In that case, the sacred Tao world was only a part of the great beginning realm. Why was it restored? This is absolutely impossible, right? One of the court pillars asked doubtfully. Chu Yuanhua also said with a sigh, actually, I didn't understand at first. Later, I asked around and after my own speculation, I got a rough idea. The sacred Tao world wasn't completely a part of the great beginning realm. It was originally a high-level realm. After the great beginning realm went through the creation war, a part of it entered the void and collided with the sacred Tao world. Eventually, it actually fused. This part was called the God Necropolis domain in the Divine Necropolis domain. I heard that the great primordial God pattern was found in the God Necropolis domain. The God Necropolis domain was split off from the great beginning realm, so there were naturally large amounts of treasures inside. Plus, the sacred Tao world was already in chaos after being hit by the God Necropolis domain. These treasures became the cause of the war. Countless experts of the sacred Tao world started a war for the treasures. Eventually, the entire sacred Tao world was in chaos. Of course, this is just my guess. Li Jianqing asked heavily, in that case, who else has the ability to restore the sacred Tao world? Chu Yuanhua bowed and answered, Tao Lord, I'm also confused about this. Later, I heard some news that someone in the sacred Tao world got the Chaos Tree and used it to restore the realm. Chaos Tree? Li Jianqing asked in shock. He wasn't this shocked even when he first heard about the great beginning God rune. Not only Li Jiancheng, the others also didn't believe it. Who would be stupid enough to take out the Chaos Tree to repair a world? Chu Yuanhua nodded. That's right, the news I got was indeed about the Chaos Tree. Do you know who used the Chaos Tree to restore the sacred Tao world? Also, have you been to the sacred Tao world? Li Jianqing asked. Chu Yuanhua said shamefully, I specially went to the sacred Tao world. Unfortunately, the sacred Tao world's realm-protecting array was many times more brilliant than the great beginning realms. I'm ashamed and couldn't enter the sacred Tao world. As for who restored the sacred Tao world, I only heard that this person's magic artifact was just a purple long saber. Very few people could make him use his saber. I think that since this person is an expert who restored the sacred Tao world, he must live in the sacred Tao world. He might be a Tao Lord of the sacred Tao world. Li Jianqing took a deep breath and said word by word, the sacred Tao world is a part of the great beginning realm. There shouldn't be any problem. Court pillars, tell me how the great beginning realm should deal with this matter. After saying that, Li Jianqing sent out 2 light figures. This is no small matter. I've invited the 2 great courts of the great beginning realm to discuss it. A blue-eyed, golden-haired, beautiful woman with a voluptuous and slender figure stood up, bowed, and said, Tao Lord, Nu Allah has something to say. Li Jianqing said warmly, Court pillar Nuala, you can say what you want to say. This beautiful woman was called Nuala. Although she was a woman and looked extremely beautiful, she was the first court pillar of the great beginning Tao court. After bowing again, Nuala said, if the laws of the sacred Tao world are still broken, the great beginning realm can use a supreme divine power to slowly move the sacred Tao world to the edge of the great beginning realm and then merge with it. Now that the sacred Tao world has been restored by the chaos tree, the laws must be complete. It would be extremely difficult to move it. I have 2 suggestions. The first is to extract the chaotic life force from the sacred Tao world and move it. Nuala's words made the Tao court fall silent. This suggestion was vicious. Extracting the chaotic life force of the sacred Tao world was equivalent to extracting the chaos tree that had merged with the sacred Tao world. The primal chaos life force that was extracted was a top-grade treasure to any expert. However, this way, the sacred Tao world would be completely destroyed. Although this suggestion was vicious, the eyes of the people in the Tao court lit up. Whether it was vicious or not had no effect on the great beginning realm, but it would affect the sacred Tao world. On the contrary, as long as the chaotic life force of the sacred Tao world was extracted, the great beginning realm would benefit greatly. Anyone here would benefit immensely. Li Jianqing nodded. Tell me about the second suggestion. Nuala continued, the second suggestion is to kill the person who restored the sacred Tao world or make him submit to the great beginning Tao court. At the same time, the sacred Tao world will be a boundary of the great beginning realm. Anyone in the great beginning realm can go to the sacred Tao world to comprehend the Tao runes and advance to a higher level. Although Nuala had only said to kill the person who restored the sacred Tao world, the people in the Tao court understood what he meant. He wanted to control the sacred Tao world and kill anyone who resisted. As for the rest of the people in the sacred Tao world, they naturally served the cultivators of the great beginning realm. Nuala's suggestion made Li Jianqing's eyes light up. Extracting the chaotic life force of the sacred Tao world was good, but this was equivalent to killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. If he used the Tao rune comprehension of the perfect law of the sacred Tao world, even a Tao lord like him could probably succeed in Tao integration. If this went on, one day, the great beginning realm would not be weaker than the great change realm. Li Jianqing nodded and said subconsciously, in that case, we need to build a teleportation array between the great beginning realm and the sacred Tao world. However, there are too few array masters who can build such a teleportation array. Tao Lord, the great change realm is about to engulf the great simplicity realm. Once the great change realm engulfs the great change realm, even if the great beginning realm obtains the sacred Tao world, I'm afraid it will be difficult for us to catch up to the great change realm, another person said. Li Jianqing sighed and waved his hand. There is no way to stop the great change realm from engulfing the great simplicity realm. The only thing we can do is to increase our strength as much as possible. Nuala's second suggestion is very good. It is easy to make the sacred Tao world surrender, but how do we set up a teleportation array from the sacred Tao world to the great beginning realm? This is a teleportation array that is separated by several planes. Nuala smiled slightly and stood up again. Tao Lord, actually, there is a top-notch array master in the 5 great realms. Who? Li Jianqing asked subconsciously. Nuala said calmly, it's Ning Cheng in the great simplicity realm. I heard that Ao Beijiang and Feng Xian joined forces with millions of soldiers from the Luiying Tao court to besiege the great simplicity realm. However, they were killed by Ning Cheng's confinement killing array. Moreover, I also heard that the great simplicity realm's boundary protection grand array is not weaker than the great change realm's boundary protection grand array. Once such a peak array Tao expert joins the great beginning realm, it is not impossible for him to set up a planar teleportation array. Chapter 1163. Li Jianqing's eyes lit up. As the number 1 pillar of the Taichu Tao court, Nuala truly lived up to her name. She definitely made the most contributions to the Taichu Taoist court. Without Nuala, his position in the Taichu Taoist court would not have been as stable as it was now. Inform the Elixir Association's guild master, Pengong, to come over. We will immediately discuss the matter of dispatching the Tao court's army to help the great change realm. Oh right, also inform Pil Saint Fengshe Hao and Pil Saint Qin Zishu. Li Jianqing immediately made a decision. He was not worried about conquering the divine Tao world at all. There were 5 Tao integration divine emperors in the great beginning realm. It would be strange if they could not conquer the divine Tao world, whose laws had been perfected not long ago. Now, he was worried about how to set up a teleportation array in the sacred Tao world to the great beginning realm. This was not something that could be done just by thinking about it. It required a top-notch array Tao expert. Sending troops to help the Great Change Realm was to take Ningqing away. If he knew that the Grand Change Realm had sent out their army to take away Ningqing, he probably wouldn't have thought so. Tao Lord, we can't underestimate the sacred Tao world. Since he can repair the sacred Tao world, he should be a Tao integration sacred emperor. A brown-faced old man stood up. He understood what Li Jianqing meant. He did not take the sacred Tao world seriously and focused on preparing for what would happen after he seized the sacred Tao world. This old man was called Yan Jinghuan. He was at the late-stage primordial chaos realm and was the second court pillar of the Taichu Tao court. He was also the steadiest person in the entire Taichu Tao court. He would always make up for mistakes in many decisions. Li Jianqing smiled faintly. I would be surprised if he wasn't a Tao integration cultivator. It would mean that I overestimated him. But Jinghuan, if I give you the chaos tree, can you repair my great beginning realm? Yan Jinghuan hesitated slightly and said, Tao Lord, if I had the chaos tree, I might not be able to completely repair the great beginning realm, but I would definitely be able to make it 10 times more perfect than it is now. Li Jianqing nodded. That's right. That person can repair the great beginning realm not because he's powerful, but because he has the chaos tree. Yuan Hua had never been to the sacred Tao world and did not know if it had been completely restored. If it wasn't completely restored, I believe there would be fewer experts in the sacred Tao world. As for Tao integration, how many Tao integration cultivators were there in the Great Change Realm, let alone the sacred Tao world that was once broken and restored not long ago? No matter how strong the sacred Tao world is, can it be stronger than the Great Change Realm? At this point, Li Jianqing's expression changed. If he completely repaired the sacred Tao world, it meant that not only did he obtain the chaotic tree, but he also obtained other treasures. Therefore, the great beginning realm must seize the sacred Tao world as our own. Otherwise, if the Great Change Realm finds out, it will be dangerous. The Great Beginning Realm can gather at least 5 Tao integration stage holy emperors. No matter how powerful that person is, he's only one person. As for the protective array, no matter how strong it would still be broken. If you don't believe me, just take a look at the Grand Essence Realm's defensive array. Yin Xingwen personally took action, and this defensive array is probably the shortest-lived defensive array. When Yan Jinghuan heard this, he also felt that he was overthinking. Apart from the Great Change Realm, the Great Beginning Realm was probably the strongest of the 5 great realms. In any case, the Sacred Tao Realm could not be stronger than the Great Change Realm. The other court masters obviously had the same thoughts as Li Jianqing. They did not think that the Sacred Tao world was stronger than the Great Beginning Realm. The Tao Lord is right. No matter how strong the barrier is, it will still be broken. Only when one's strength is strong will it be the real capital. A deep voice was heard as several people landed in the hall of the Tao court. Li Jianqing hurriedly stood up. Jianqing greets the 2 guardians. Welcome, Guild Master Pengong, Alchemy Saint Feng, and Alchemy Saint Qin. The 2 guardians of the Great Beginning Realm, Timothy and Xiao Qiandong, had come. They were also the strongest experts protecting the Great Beginning Tao court. The one who had spoken just now was Xiao Qiandong, one of the 2 guardians. After they sat down, Li Jianqing asked, Guild Master Peng, Alchemy Saint Feng, and Alchemy Saint Qin. In the 5-realm elixir competition, you guys had the most contact with Ningqing. What kind of person is Ningqing? How did he cause such a big commotion? Pengong pondered for a moment before saying cautiously, this person's talent can be said to be rare throughout the ages. At least, I have never seen an alchemy master as talented as Ningqing. Upon hearing Peng Ang's words, everyone's expressions changed slightly. Even the two Dao integration experts who had just come in focused and listened carefully. Who was Peng Ang? He was the #1 alchemy saint of the Great Beginning Realm and a primordial chaos alchemy saint. In terms of status alone, Peng Ang's reputation among the cultivators of the Great Beginning Realm was not necessarily inferior to Dao Lord Li Jianqing's. How could Peng Ang's knowledge and experience be simple if he could become a primordial chaos alchemy saint and the One Realm Elixir Association master? He had never seen such a person praising Ning Cheng's talent before, which showed how talented Ning Cheng was. Li Jianqing's expression turned solemn as he said cautiously, "Please enlighten me, Guild Master Peng." Peng Ang nodded and said, "Back in the Five-Realm Void City, Ning Cheng had an alchemy competition with Lu Dongsa. Many people knew that Lu Dongsa had lost. In fact, Ning Cheng's true strength was not that he had defeated Lu Dongsa, but that he could deduce the characteristics of a complex divine spirit herb that he had never seen before in the shortest time. In contrast, his ability to deduce new elixir formulas was secondary. Peng Ang had initially thought that Ning Cheng had known those divine spirit herbs and had deliberately made up a name to mock Lu Dongsa. Later on, he had deduced that Ning Cheng had not known those divine spirit herbs at all. The reason Ning Cheng had been able to refine those 5 divine spirit herbs into elixirs was that he had used the limited time to deduce the main functions of those divine spirit herbs. He had been able to deduce the functions of 5 extremely rare or even extinct divine spirit herbs in such a short time and fuse them into a new elixir formula. Peng Ang had indeed never seen such talent before. In fact, if Ning Cheng had not gone missing, he would have also tried to befriend Ning Cheng like Lu Dongsa. Feng Shihao was a thin man with a pale face, but his cultivation level was not weak. He was also a primordial chaos sacred emperor. After Peng Ang finished speaking, he also said solemnly, "If possible, I suggest that we do not become enemies with Ning Cheng. Guild Master Peng is right. Not only is this person unparalleled in talent, but he is also very scheming. I heard that he was already a primordial Dao sacred emperor when he destroyed the Luying Dao Court's Dao Court army. He was able to become a Dao Lord of the Grand Essence Dao Court when he advanced to the Dao Essence realm. He was also able to defeat Lu Dongsa in an alchemy battle and befriend Lu Dongsa. This kind of person is not simple." The words of Peng Ang and the pale man made the Dao Court much quieter. After pondering for a moment, Li Jianqing still said, "With Ning Cheng's talent, it does not seem surprising that he became a top-notch god array master. How about this, let's go to the Grand Change Realm first and find out what's going on. If possible, I, the Grand Beginning Realm, am willing to take out something in exchange for Ning Cheng's life." Everyone understood what Li Jianqing meant. This was equivalent to the Grand Beginning Realm coming forward to protect Ning Cheng when the Grand Change Realm destroyed Grand Essence. If Ning Cheng was really saved, then Ning Cheng would not forget the Grand Beginning Realm's life-saving grace. Few people usually came to the Realm Lord peak of the Grand Change Realm, but during this period, there were many people coming and going. The Realm Lord, who could not usually be seen, often came and went in the various Dao courts during this period. The 4 Dao courts sending out their armies at the same time sounded easy, but it was not easy to do. Even if the Grand Mystery Dao Court only sent out 1,000,000 Dao Court soldiers, it was still a huge coordination process. Everyone had their own interests in mind when they sent out their armies, and no one was willing to be at the forefront. Just as Yin Xingwen was struggling, the Grand Beginning Realm's Dao integration powerhouse Shao Qiandong and the first court pillar Nuala came to visit. Yin Xingwen immediately received Shao Qiandong. Nuala was one thing, but Shao Qiandong was a Dao integration powerhouse from the Grand Beginning Realm. This kind of person definitely did not come from hundreds of millions of miles away to visit him, the Realm Lord. After some greetings, Yin Xingwen was shocked when Nuala said that she would send out the Grand Beginning Realm's army to help the Grand Change Realm teach the Grand Essence Realm a lesson. Yin Xingwen had never thought of asking the Grand Beginning Realm, the Grand Beginning Realm, and the Grand Ultimate Realm for help. First, there was no need. Second, he knew that the 3 Grand Realms would not help. "Thank you, Dao Lord Jianqing, for remembering me, Yin Xingwen, at this time. However, there is no need for me to send out the army. The Grand Change Realm is just a trifling Grand Essence realm. Of course, if Taoist Xiao doesn't mind, you can come with me to the Grand Essence realm. If there is anything you like, you don't have to be polite, Yin Xingwen said euphemistically. The Grand Beginning realm didn't need to send out the army. As long as Xiao Qiandong helped, it would be enough. Nuala had already guessed that Yin Xingwen would answer like this. Yin Xingwen wanted the Grand Change Realm's Dao Court to send out the army, which would affect his prestige as the realm lord. As for the other realms, he really didn't need help. What's more, if Xiao Qiandong could help, it would be more powerful than 1,000,000 Dao Court soldiers. When Xiao Qiandong heard this, he immediately said, "In that case, I will follow the realm lord to the Grand Essence realm to see what's so strange about it. I don't want anything else from the Grand Essence realm, but Ningcheng has some connections with my Grand Beginning realm's Pil Saint Fengshe Hao. After the Grand Change realm's army breaks through the Grand Essence defensive array, I just need to take Ningcheng away." Take Ningcheng away? Yin Xingwen looked at Xiao Qiandong helplessly. If I let you take Ningcheng away, how can I attack the Grand Essence realm? I attacked the Grand Essence realm to capture Ningcheng and ask him about the World Mountain. Of course, I also want to know about Ningcheng's other secrets. How can I let your Grand Beginning realm take Ningcheng away? Nuala looked at Yin Xingwen's expression and immediately knew that something was wrong. Sure enough, Yin Xingwen followed up, the reason why my Grand Change realm wants to attack Grand Essence is not because of Grand Essence. It's because Ningcheng is too hateful. This person deliberately opened the seal of the Grand Change realm's underground abyss and killed millions of my Grand Change Luiying Dao Court's army. It can be said that this time, my Grand Change realm's army came out because of Ningcheng. Since Yin Xingwen said so, Xiao Qiandong and Nuala understood that their plan to arrange a teleportation array with Ningcheng had fallen through. Moreover, they couldn't ask for help from the Grand Change realm for this matter and could only leave. After leaving the Grand Change realm, the first thing Xiao Qiandong asked was, "Court Pillar Nuala, do you believe Yin Xingwen's words?" Nuala showed a slight smile. Yin Xingwen would never take revenge for the Luiying Dao Court, nor would he send out the Dao Court's army to capture Ningcheng just to unseal the demonic creatures in the underground abyss. There must be something we don't know. Chapter 1164. After Ningcheng returned to the Grand Essence realm, he didn't immediately go to Heaven Essence Sacred City's Dao Court. Instead, he brought everyone to Grand Essence Mountain. Grand Essence Mountain had beautiful scenery and abundant spirit qi. Whether it was Ji Luofei, Ning Ruoqing or Ning Rulan, they all fell in love with this place as soon as they arrived. Although Ningcheng's mysterious yellow bead was good, it wasn't completely perfected. Moreover, once Ningcheng perfected the mysterious yellow bead, everyone would have to leave temporarily. Therefore, when they saw the Grand Essence Mountain, they chose to stay in the Grand Essence Mountain to cultivate. After accompanying Ji Luofei and the others for a while, Ningcheng received a message from the Dao Court. Whether it was Ning Rulan or Ji Luofei, they both knew that Ningcheng was still a Dao Lord of the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court. Now that the Dao Court sent a message, they naturally didn't dare to let Ningcheng stay in Grand Essence Mountain. When Ningcheng arrived at Heaven Essence Sacred City's Dao Court, almost everyone from the Dao Court had already arrived. After a simple greeting to everyone from the Dao Court, Ningcheng asked, "Court Pillar Li Feng, is there any movement in the Grand Change Realm?" Li Feng stood up and said, "There is indeed movement in the Grand Change Realm. I heard that the Grand Change Realm's Lord Yin Xingwen personally came forward to deal with the Grand Essence Realm. Apart from the Yaohua Dao Court, the other 4 Dao Courts in the Grand Change Realm have responded to Yin Xingwen's call." Ningcheng nodded. This was within his expectations. The reason why he opened the Grand Essence domain and formed a new Dao Court army in the Grand Essence ruins was to deal with the Grand Change Realm. Without Chu Manhe and the others, Ningcheng would still feel a little uneasy. But with Chu Manhe and more than 30 veteran Dao fusion powerhouses, coupled with the Grand Essence Realm's boundary protecting Grand Array and Trap and Kill Array, he didn't worry about the Grand Change Realm breaking the Grand Essence Realm's boundary protecting Grand Essence Realm. But this time, it's not about the Grand Change Realm, but the appearance of balanced soil. Li Feng said cautiously. Balanced soil. Ning Qing stood up in surprise. Court Pillar Li, do you really have news about balanced soil? Where is it? Fellow Taoist Xia from the Celestial Pole Island knows this better than me, Li Feng said and retreated. Ning Qing had already seen the Xia Dao friend that Li Feng spoke of. It was Xia Zhishua from the Celestial Pole Path. Xia Zhishua had advanced to primordial chaos not long ago. Not only was he the sect master of Sky Pole Island, but he was also the top expert of Sky Pole Island. Xia Tingqing, please tell me about balanced soil. Ning Qing slightly leaned to the side to show respect. Xia Zhishua was a sect master, and at the same time, he was also the main backbone of the Taisu Dao court. Although Ning Qing had contributed to the Grand Essence Dao court, it did not mean that Ning Qing could control everything. To put it bluntly, they had a cooperative relationship. Ning Qing addressing Xia Zhishua as Xia Tingqing was also a show of respect to Xia Zhishua. Firstly, it was a respectful title, and secondly, it highlighted the purpose of the Dao court. Xia Zhishua had a lot of respect for Ning Qing, a Dao monarch. Therefore, after giving the Dao monarch enough etiquette, he said, there are many small planets on the periphery of the Grand Essence realm, one of which is called the Yi Su star. Perhaps Dao monarch has never heard of this small place. Ning Qing nodded but did not speak. He might not have heard of other planets, but he had heard of this elemental star before. Back in the Dark Nether realm, he was ambushed by the Green Hat Chu Chen and finally blasted out of the Dark Nether realm by the laws of heaven and earth. He was seriously injured and was rescued by Su Shiqian of the Su clan's corner in the Grand Essence realm. This Su Shiqian came from the elemental star at that time. The elemental star was filled with primitive mountains and forests. Many low-level starry sky cultivators came here to survive and look for cultivation resources. The Su clan's corner also relied on the elemental star to do some cultivation resource business. Xia Zhishua continued, after Dao Monarch said to look for the primal chaos 5 soils, my everlasting island's disciples also paid attention to these 5 primal chaos soils. I didn't expect that my everlasting sect would actually find one of the 5 soils, the balanced soil. When I got the news, I wasn't in the Grand Essence realm. I wasn't far from the elemental star at that time. I didn't delay and immediately went to the elemental star. Ning Qing felt a little excited. It seemed that his original strategy was correct. If he hadn't spread the news of finding the 5 soils to the entire Grand Essence realm, how could he have known about Shiran? How could he get the news about the balanced soil now? What happened next? Did you get the balanced soil? Ning Qing couldn't wait to ask. He was too eager to repair the Grand Essence realm. Although he knew that Xia Zhishua must have said something wrong, he still had some expectations in his heart. Xia Zhishua spoke up in shame. At that time, the balanced soil appeared in a simple makeshift market of the elemental star. The cultivator who sold the balanced soil didn't know that it was the balanced soil. Because the balanced soil was wrapped in restrictions, it looked like a large piece of good quality segmented soil. So he sold it as a segmented soil, and it happened to be purchased by a disciple of my everlasting island. Ning Qing sighed in his heart. If this piece of balanced soil was still in Xia Zhishua's hands, Xia Zhishua would have taken it out a long time ago. Sure enough, Xia Zhishua continued, just as the transaction was completed, a cultivator suddenly grabbed that piece of segmented soil. He even said that he also wanted this piece of segmented soil and asked my everlasting island's disciple to give it to him. My everlasting island's disciple naturally didn't want it. Under the competition between the two, the restrictions around the piece of balanced soil broke, revealing the balanced soil. Because my everlasting island's disciple had a slightly weaker cultivation, the balanced soil was snatched away from his hands, and he even suffered serious injuries. At that time, because of the exposure of the balanced soil, it caused a large-scale scramble. My everlasting island's disciple didn't want his things to be snatched away, not to mention that he also knew the importance of the balanced soil to my Grand Essence realm. So after sending me a message while suffering serious injuries, he also tried his best to snatch it. In the end, he died in the makeshift market. Ning Cheng's eyes flashed with killing intent. Isu star was located on the edge of the Grand Essence Realm. Although it wasn't protected by the Grand Essence Realm's defensive array, it was still considered the Grand Essence Realm's territory according to the rules. Not to mention that someone had openly snatched something from the balanced soil in the Grand Essence Realm. The Grand Essence Realm would never let this matter go. Have you found out who the person who snatched the balanced soil is and where he came from? Ning Qing asked with a cold voice. Xie Zhishua nodded. I've already found out. This person's name is Feng Qi, a rogue cultivator wandering the void. He came from the Absolute Beginning Realm, but as for this person's status in the Absolute Beginning Realm, I don't know. Ning Qing pondered over it for a while before saying, the Grand Change Realm wants to deal with my Grand Essence Realm this time. I'm afraid that he won't appear outside the Grand Essence Realm's defensive array for at least a few years. The matter regarding the balanced soil isn't a trivial matter. I'll go to the Absolute Beginning Realm first. Court Pillarly, please inform Senior Kong. I'll also go out and find a few helpers. From the Grand Essence Realm to the Absolute Beginning Realm, with Ning Cheng's current speed, it wouldn't take more than 3 years at most using the teleportation array. Ning Qing estimated that it would take a few years for the Grand Change Realm's tens of millions of Dao Court troops to coordinate and appear outside the Grand Essence Realm. Although everyone knew that Ning Qing couldn't leave the Grand Essence Realm at this time. It's just that the matter regarding the balanced soil was too important. It was related to the restoration of the Grand Essence Realm's laws. The sooner they obtained this thing, the sooner they would be safe. If they were a day late and someone used this thing, it would be over. After Ning Qing decided to go to the Absolute Beginning Realm, Li Feng and the others stood up and offered to follow Ning Qing to the Absolute Beginning Realm. Ning Qing refused them one by one. He asked Kang Xiushan to go with him because Kang Xiushan was a Dao Perfection Holy Emperor. As for Li Feng and the others, they wouldn't be of much help. Moreover, Li Feng and the others had more things to do in the Grand Essence Realm. The Grand Essence Realm had just stabilized, and they had to deal with the upcoming Grand Change Dao Court army. Ning Qing was about to invite Chu Manhe and Wu Lin, but before Ning Qing could, Chu Manhe came to find Ning Qing. Apparently, she knew about Ning Qing as soon as he appeared in Heaven Essence Sacred City. Following Chu Manhe and Wu Lin, 9 other people came. Ning Qing knew all 9 of them. They were all holy emperors who had gone to the dragon cleansing pool to recover. Since they appeared here at this time, it meant that they had fully recovered their strength. Ning Qing observed them and found that Yan Bin, Ji Yi, and Wan Yi were at least half-step Dao Perfection experts. As veteran half-step Dao Perfection experts, their strength wouldn't be any weaker than Shuriqing. Coupled with the other late-stage primordial chaos experts and Kang Xiushan, not to mention going to the Absolute Beginning Realm, even if they went to the Grand Change Realm, it wouldn't be a problem for them to protect themselves. Kang Xiushan came very quickly, and he was very enthusiastic about Ning Cheng's summons. Ning Cheng had invited him to go to the Absolute Beginning Realm first, and he came right after. It wasn't Ning Cheng's first time coming to the 5 Realms Void City. With his current cultivation level and the speed of the Starry Sky Wheel, it would only take him half a year to go from the Grand Essence Realm to the 5 Realms Void City. Although the 5 Realms Void City led to the 5 Grand Realms, one could only directly teleport to the Absolute Beginning Realm and the Grand Change Realm. To teleport to the other major realms, one would have to teleport outside the realms and then walk a certain distance. Ning Cheng's group of 13 people, except for Ning Cheng who had disguised himself, did not. Ning Cheng had disguised himself because he was too famous. There were only a few people in the 5 Realms Void City who didn't know Ning Cheng. Normally, it would have been fine, but at this time, the Grand Essence Realm and the Grand Change Realm were in a tense situation. Ning Cheng didn't want the people of the Grand Change Realm to know that he had gone to the Absolute Beginning Realm. To teleport from the 5 Realms Void City's teleportation array to the major planes, except for the Grand Change Realm, which was too expensive. The price of the other 4 realms was nothing to Ning Cheng. After the Luying Dao Court's invasion of the Grand Essence Realm, Ning Cheng had tens of billions of spirit crystals. The teleportation array from the 5 Realms Void City to the Absolute Beginning Realm could teleport 20 people at a time. After Ning Cheng and the others stepped onto the teleportation array, Chu Manha sent a voice transmission to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng, the person in linen robes on the teleportation array with us is a Dao Integration Sacred Emperor. Even without Chu Manha's reminder, Ning Cheng had already noticed this Dao Integration Sacred Emperor. When Ning Cheng noticed this person was looking at Kang Xiushan. Kang Xiushan and Chu Manha were both Dao Integration Sacred Emperors. Kang Xiushan was a Dao Integration Sacred Emperor who had survived the Second Blight. Even so, Kang Xiushan's strength was still far inferior to Chu Manha's. The linen-robed man could not see Chu Manha's strength at first glance, but he could see Kang Xiushan's strength. Chapter 1165. You're going to Tai Chu as well? The beautiful woman beside He Dao suddenly asked. Chu Manha said calmly, that's right. We're going to absolute beginning as well. The pretty lady was looking at Kang Xiushan as she asked this question, but the one who answered was Chu Manha. After Chu Manha took the initiative to answer, the Dao Integration cultivator in linen clothes looked at Chu Manha. Only then did he realize that Chu Manha's cultivation level was higher than his. This meant that there were at least 2 Dao Integration Stage Holy Emperors in this group. The woman and the Dao Integration Stage Holy Emperor looked at each other and didn't say anything until the teleportation formation was activated. An extreme sense of dizziness struck them, and the Dao Integration Stage Holy Emperor and the beautiful woman discovered that no one in this group had actually fallen unconscious. Time and space constantly changed until everyone's feet touched the ground and they walked out of the teleportation array. Welcome to my absolute beginning realm, fellow Taoists. Is there anything I can help you with? The pretty woman suddenly became enthusiastic. Although she was talking, her eyes were fixed on Chu Manha and Kang Xiushan. In her opinion, the leader of this group of people was either Chu Manha or Kang Xiushan. To her surprise, the one who took the initiative to speak was neither Chu Manha nor Kang Xiushan, but the young man with the lowest cultivation. Thank you. I guess you must be the first pillar of the Tai Chu Dao court, Nuala, right? Ning Cheng said with a smile. The beautiful woman was Nuala. She and Xiao Qiandong had just returned from the Grand Change Realm because they hadn't reached an agreement with the Grand Change Realm. That's right, I'm Nora. Who are you? Seeing that Ning Cheng knew that she was the first court pillar, Nuala knew that Ning Cheng and the others had most likely come for the Tai Chu Dao court. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and said, My name is Ning Cheng, and I come from the Grand Essence Realm. Of course, I came here in disguise. I'm here for 2 things. The first is to pay a visit to Dao Lord Li, and the second is a private matter. Ning Cheng. You're a Dao Lord of the Taisu Dao court. Nuala finally understood and looked at Ning Cheng in disbelief. She was just about to look for Ning Cheng to cooperate with, but she didn't expect Ning Cheng to come to the absolute beginning realm. Didn't Ning Cheng know that the Grand Change Realm was dealing with him? Since he dared to come to the Grand Beginning Realm, wasn't he afraid that the Grand Beginning Realm would take action against him and take him down? However, when Nuala thought of Chu Manha and the others around Ning Cheng, she thought that maybe he really did not need to be afraid. Ning Cheng smiled and said again, I am Ning Cheng from the Taisu Dao court. I wonder if court pillar Nuala can pass a message to me. I would like to meet Dao Lord Li. Visiting Li Jiancheng was not something that Ning Cheng had come up with on the spur of the moment. Rather, he had planned to do so a long time ago. Among the 5 grand realms, the Grand Beginning Realm was even more broken than the Grand Essence Realm. In fact, among the 5 great realms, besides the Great Change Realm, the Great Beginning Realm was the strongest. Absolute Beginning's foundation was too deep, and there were many capable people. Ning Cheng had come to the Absolute Beginning Realm to find Fang Qi, who had taken away balanced soil. It would be difficult for the Absolute Beginning Dao court to not know about it. Ning Cheng decided to take this opportunity to visit Li Jiancheng while looking for Heng Yang. Even if he couldn't bring the Absolute Beginning Realm together to deal with the Grand Change Realm, he could at least stabilize the Absolute Beginning Realm during the war and prevent it from participating in the war. The second was naturally to ask Li Jiancheng for help in finding Fang Qi's origin. At this time, Fang Qi probably hadn't returned to the Absolute Beginning Realm yet. As long as he could find his origin, he might be able to find Feng Qi. Ning Qing believed that Li Jianqing wouldn't fall out with the Grand Essence realm for a piece of balanced soil. Balanced soil wasn't like breath soil, and its value was far less precious. Of course. Dao friends, you can come with us to the Dao court of the absolute beginning sacred Dao city. Our Dao Lord has always admired Dao Lord Ning. We will definitely be happy to see Dao Lord Ning here. Nuala understood and said enthusiastically. After that, she sent out a message. She wanted to find Ning Qing. Now that Ning Qing appeared in the absolute beginning realm, how could she not be happy? Whether Nuala was telling the truth or not, Li Jianqing's welcome to Ning Qing was not fake. Ning Qing and the others had just arrived at the absolute beginning sacred Dao city when Li Jianqing and a group of important figures from the Dao court came out of the city to welcome them. I've long heard of Dao Lord Ning's name. I've long known that Dao Lord Ning is a peerless genius that only appears once in a trillion years. Today, I, Li Jianqing, can't help but be overjoyed to see Dao friend Ning in the absolute beginning realm. Li Jianqing's youthful face was filled with sincerity and enthusiasm as he greeted Ning Qing from afar. Ning Qing quickly stepped forward and said in the same polite tone, "The damage to the absolute beginning realm is far worse than my grand essence realm. Dao friendly can make the absolute beginning realm a powerful place second only to the grand change realm. Ning Qing really admires you." Everyone exchanged pleasantries. Ning Qing briefly introduced Chu Manhe and the others, and Li Jianqing also briefly introduced the people who came with him. Only then did he warmly welcome everyone to the absolute beginning guest hall. Fine wine and divine fruits were served like flowing water. Li Jianqing personally greeted Ning Qing and the others, which showed that he really cared about Ning Qing's arrival. To be honest, Ning Qing didn't expect Li Jianqing to be so polite to him. He was even prepared that Li Jianqing would give him some face in order to please the Grand Change realm. He hadn't expected that none of this would happen. Instead, he felt a little uncomfortable with the absolute beginning Dao court's enthusiasm. This was definitely not because Li Jianqing knew that he was very strong this time. There were at least 2 Dao integration experts behind Li Jianqing. According to Li Jianqing's introduction, the man in linen clothes who had come with them before was called Shao Qiandong. The other Dao integration expert who had been sitting next to Li Jianqing was called Timothy. Based on Ning Cheng's judgment, Timothy's strength was probably a little stronger than Kang Shushan's. After 3 rounds of wine, Li Jianqing raised his wine glass and said to Ning Qing, "Logically speaking, I should be the one going to the Grand Essence realm to congratulate the establishment of the Grand Essence Dao court and congratulate Dao friend Ning on becoming a Dao lord. Now that Dao friend Ning has taken the initiative to come to my absolute beginning realm, I'm really ashamed. This glass of wine is my fault." After saying that, Li Jianqing raised his wine glass and drank it in one gulp. After drinking all the wine in the glass, Li Jianqing continued, "Brother Ning, no matter what you come to my absolute beginning realm for, as long as it can be done by the absolute beginning realm, Li Jianqing will not decline." He directly changed the title of Dao Lord to Brother Ning and invisibly pulled his relationship with Ning Qing closer. Such a cautious promise made Ning Qing feel even more apprehensive. He also raised his wine glass and drank it in one gulp. Then, he said, "Thank you for your generosity and politeness, Brother Li. This time, I really need your help with something in the absolute beginning realm. I'm sure Brother Li knows that the Grand Change realm is stronger than the Grand Essence realm and forcibly dispatched the Dao court's army, right?" Li Jianqing nodded and said with some disdain, "The Grand Change realm's Yin Xingwen is really shameless. The 5 great realms were like brothers in ancient times. Now, for his own selfish desires, he actually wants to use the army against the Grand Essence Dao court. The absolute beginning realm is extremely dissatisfied with this." Previously, the guardian of the great beginning realm, Shao Qiandong, and the first court pillar, Nuala, went to the Grand Change realm to persuade them about this matter. However, Yin Xingwen is like a tortoise eating its weight. He has already steeled his heart. However, Daoist Ning, don't worry. In any case, the absolute beginning realm will not sit back and watch the Grand Change realm destroy the Grand Essence realm. Ning Qing found it funny in his heart. If you, Li Jiancheng, were so kind, you would have gone to the Grand Essence realm a long time ago. Why would you wait for me to come here today? However, he didn't point it out. Anyone would talk about this kind of thing. If he wanted the absolute beginning realm to stand on his side, or even speak up for the Grand Essence realm, he would need to come up with practical benefits. Many thanks for Brother Li's righteousness. Although the first thing I came here for has nothing to do with the Grand Change realm, I want to form an alliance with the absolute beginning realm. This way, those arrogant people won't be able to do whatever they want unscrupulously. Ning Qing cupped his fists and spoke with caution. Li Jianqing nodded. I have the same idea as Brother Ning. From today onwards, my absolute beginning realm will be an ally of the Grand Essence realm. Even if I can't stop the Grand Change realm from mobilizing the army against the Grand Essence realm, I would still advise the Grand Change realm not to go too far. Ning Qing grew even more puzzled. He couldn't figure out why Li Jianqing spoke so cautiously. It was as if he really wanted to form an alliance with the Grand Essence realm. Did he misunderstand him? Not waiting for Ning Qing to solve the doubts in his heart, Li Jianqing spoke up again. Brother Ning, I actually have something I want to ask Brother Ning for help with. Hearing this sentence, Ning Qing breathed a sigh of relief. That's more like it. If Ning Qing didn't need his help, then he would feel strange. Brother Li, please speak. As long as I can help, I won't refuse. Ning Qing spoke in the same tone as Li Jianqing. Li Jianqing spoke up with joy. I heard that Brother Ning arranged the extremely powerful boundary protection grand array in the Grand Essence realm by yourself. Ning Qing immediately understood that Li Jianqing wanted him to arrange an array formation. He didn't dare say anything else, but he could arrange an array formation without offending anyone. Brother Li overpraises me. Although I didn't arrange the Grand Essence realm's boundary protection grand array by myself, it was arranged under my leadership. Ning Qing spoke the truth. His attainments in the Tao of arrays were the highest, so there was no need to hide it. Li Jianqing clapped his hands. My absolute beginning Pill Unions Association Master Pengong once said that Brother Ning is a peerless genius. It seems that it's true. I wanted to arrange a teleportation array, but this teleportation array is a bit difficult. My absolute beginning realm doesn't have many top-level array Tao experts, and the Grand Change realm and I don't get along because of the Grand Essence realm. So, I shamelessly asked Tao friend Ning for help. Ning Qing nodded, no problem. But where does this teleportation array lead to? What kind of teleportation array is it? Li Jianqing stood up. Brother Ning, this teleportation array is a bit far. I estimate that it will cross more than one positional plane. As for the location, I haven't determined it yet. Cross more than one positional plane. Ning Qing frowned suddenly and said apologetically, Brother Li, if it's a positional plane, I'm afraid I can't arrange this kind of teleportation array. Even if Brother Li asks for more help, my ability is still limited. When he said this, Ning Qing thought of Nianyan. Perhaps Nianyan, an array Tao genius, could arrange a positional teleportation array. As for him, he was still far from it. Chapter 1166. Li Jianqing seemed to know that Ning Qing would say this. He smiled and said, I also know that even the Grand Change realm wouldn't be able to find such an expert in the Tao of arrays. My current idea is to set up a teleportation array to the nearest place in the other positional plane, and then set up another teleportation array in the other positional plane. When we have the strength, I will ask Brother Ning to set up a planar teleportation array. Ning Qing instantly understood Li Jianqing's meaning. It was as if two places were separated by a river in the middle. To connect these two places, the road builder could only build two roads, one to this side of the river, and the other from the other side of the river. As for how to cross the river, it had nothing to do with the array formation. Of course, when he had the ability to build a bridge, he could build a new one. If that's the case, I'm willing to contribute to the Grand Beginning Realms array. Since Li Jianqing said it like this, Ning Qing naturally wouldn't refuse and agreed to Li Jianqing's request without hesitation. Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Li Jianqing said with joy, it's a great joy for my Grand Beginning Realm and Grand Essence Realm to become brothers. By the way, Brother Ning, there's one more thing. Ning Qing came here for the matter of balance Earth. As for forming an alliance with Li Jiancheng, it was completely incidental. Whether it was Ning Qing or Li Jiancheng, they both knew it in their hearts. This kind of alliance couldn't stand the test of wind and rain. As long as the Grand Change Realm destroyed the Grand Essence Realm, it would be strange if Li Jiancheng would still remember this alliance. Similarly, if the Grand Change Realm wanted to deal with the Grand Beginning Realm, Ning Qing wouldn't be stupid enough to help the Grand Beginning Realm. This alliance meant that when the Grand Change Realm dealt with the Grand Essence Realm, the Grand Beginning Realm wouldn't intervene. It could even send someone to help the Grand Beginning Realm. If Ning Qing didn't die, then he would have to help the Grand Beginning Realm complete the array formation. Everyone knew this in their hearts. Brotherly, there's a cultivator named Fang Qi in the Grand Beginning Realm. This person killed a disciple of my Grand Essence Heaven's Pole Island and stole a piece of material. I'm very interested in this material. The other thing I came here for is to ask Brotherly to help me find this Fang Qi. Ning Qing did not say what Fang Qi had stolen. He was not sure if Li Jiancheng would have any thoughts about Heng Ran. However, he didn't have a choice. Fang Qi was from the Great Beginning Realm, and he had to go through Li Jiancheng, the Dao Lord of the Dao Court, to find him. After saying that, Ning Qing took out a crystal ball and handed it to Li Jiancheng. Brotherly, this is Fang Qi's image. I guess he hasn't reached the absolute beginning realm yet. As long as Brotherly can give me the clues to find this person, I will be eternally grateful. Li Jiancheng took the crystal ball. Ning Qing didn't say what Fang Qi took, but Li Jiancheng knew that it must be something extraordinary. If it was an ordinary thing, then Ning Qing would not have spoken to him in such a cautious manner. He could also guess that even if this thing was not a trivial matter, it should not be enough to cause him to become greedy and become enemies with Ning Qing. Otherwise, Ning Qing would not have spoken about this matter. Ning Qing did not say what this material was. As long as he could find Fang Qi, then he would be able to ask him what this material was. Brother Ning, don't worry. Leave this matter to me. As long as Fang Qi came out of the absolute beginning realm, I can find his background, Li Jiancheng promised without hesitation. The help of Ning Cheng's array formation was too important to him. The sacred Dao world was definitely a treasure land that even Tai Yi had not discovered. If he wanted to occupy the sacred Dao world, he needed the simplest way to go to the sacred Dao world. This method could only be teleportation. Ning Qing was an array formation expert, so Tai Yi had to rely on him. The atmosphere between the two sides was good. After talking about business, they exchanged cultivation experiences and talked about all sorts of interesting things. After that, the Absolute Beginning Realm Elixir Association Master Pengong, Alchemy Sage Feng Shihao, and Qin Zixu also came. Pengong wanted to make friends with Ning Qing, so he naturally would not make Ning Qing unhappy. Li Jiancheng wanted to ask Chu Manhe and the others who came with Ning Qing, but Ning Qing did not say anything, so he could not ask in detail. Li Jiancheng was not bragging. In just half a month, he found out Fang Qi's background. Fang Qi did come out of the Absolute Beginning Realm, but he was a traitor of the Absolute Beginning Realm. This person was originally from the Star Point Palace in the Absolute Beginning Realm. Later, he killed the Star Point Palace master and his wife, who were very grateful to him. He stole the Star Point Palace's treasure, the Star Point Plate, and disappeared. The Star Point Plate was not only the treasure of the Star Point Palace, but it was also a very famous treasure in the entire Absolute Beginning Realm. The Star Point Plate was not an offensive Dharma treasure, but an auxiliary treasure. It only had one function, and that was to clearly find many treasures that others could not see. Even some treasures that were hidden extremely well could be found by the star-pointing compass. Ning Qing was very disappointed when he heard this news. This meant that Fang Qi would not return to the Absolute Beginning Realm. His idea of finding Fang Qi's background was also lost. Fang Qi was so cruel that he could even kill the palace master and his wife. How could he return to the Absolute Beginning Realm? Since he could not find a way from the Absolute Beginning Realm, Ning Qing could only say goodbye to Li Jiancheng. Li Jianqing personally sent Ning Qing away and sent the Absolute Beginning Realm's protector Shao Qiandong to follow Ning Qing to the Grand Essence Realm. Li Jianqing did not say that he would send Shao Qiandong to help, but everyone knew it. That was, once the Grand Essence Realm could not withstand the Grand Simplicity Realm's attack, Shao Qiandong would rescue Ning Qing and return to the Absolute Beginning Realm. Since Shao Qiandong rescued Ning Qing and returned to the Absolute Beginning Realm, Ning Qing naturally had to help the Absolute Beginning Realm arrange the array formation. Heaven Essence Sacred City, Grand Essence Dao Court Hall, Ning Qing, who had rushed back from the Absolute Beginning Realm, was sitting on the Dao Lord throne. Next to him, there were 37 experts that almost no one recognized. These 37 people were naturally primordial chaos powerhouses who had recovered their cultivation in the Grand Essence Sea's Dragon Cleansing Pool. After recovering their cultivation, they did not even have time to take out the innate dragon beads. Instead, they came to Heaven Essence Sacred City to cheer for Ning Qing. Because the Grand Essence Dao Court's army had already arrived outside the Grand Essence Realm's protector Grand Array, Ning Qing couldn't even squeeze out the time to go to the Grand Essence Mountain, let alone arrange the array formation to remove the innate dragon beads. Yin Xingwen arrived at the Grand Essence Realm much faster than Ning Qing had expected. If Ning Qing hadn't wasted almost no time in the Grand Essence Realm, maybe Ning Qing would not have returned by the time the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court's army arrived outside the Grand Essence Realm. Li Feng knew that Ning Qing had a group of helpers, but he never asked Ning Qing where these people came from. Li Feng didn't understand why these experts would help Ning Qing, but this matter did not bring any harm to the Grand Essence Realm. At this time, Ning Qing sat in the Grand Essence Dao Court's hall with more than 30 experts sitting around Ning Qing. These more than 30 experts made Li Feng understand that even without his support, these 30 people were enough to help Ning Qing sweep away any unfavorable factors in the Grand Essence Realm. After everyone arrived, Li Feng was the first to stand up and give a salute. Dao Lord, this time, the Grand Essence Realm's Realm Master Yin Xingwen has arrived outside the Grand Essence Realm. Ning Qing nodded. Court Master Li, do you know the general strength of the other party? Li Feng continued, this time, in addition to the Grand Essence Realm's Realm Master Dao Integration Expert Yin Xingwen, there are also 2 Dao Integration Experts, Ao Beijiang and Feng Xian. In addition, there are also Luying Dao Court's Dao Integration Expert Chu Bai and Jade Clear Dao Court's Dao Integration Expert Wei Xinghao. Ning Qing was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect the Grand Essence Realm to send 5 Dao Integration Holy Emperors this time, including a Realm Master. If it weren't for the help of Chu Manhe and the other 37 experts, perhaps the Grand Essence Realm wouldn't have lasted for long. Li Feng continued, these are just the Dao Integration Experts from the Grand Essence Realm. As for Primordial Chaos Experts, there are hundreds of them. Not only are there Dao Integration and Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors, but the Grand Essence Dao Court's army also has nearly 50 million people. Hearing Li Feng's words, not only was Ning Qing surprised, but the others were also shocked. They all knew that the Grand Essence Realm wouldn't come to the Grand Essence Realm this time, but they didn't know that it would be this powerful. More than 50 million Dao Court soldiers, 5 Dao Integration Holy Emperors, and hundreds of Primordial Chaos Experts had come. How could they fight against them? Even if the Grand Essence Realm had a Boundary Protection Grand Array and a Trap and Kill Array to complement it. In front of so many experts, it would be very difficult to stop the Grand Essence Dao Court's army from entering the Grand Essence Realm. Many people looked at the more than 30 people beside Ning Qing. They didn't know who they were, but they also knew that they were Ning Qing's last resort. But what was the use of them? Dao Lord Ning, how confident are you in this battle? Shuriqing's gaze swept across the group of Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors who came out of the Perpetual Moon sect and asked calmly. She could see that the people who came with Ning Qing weren't weak. They should all be Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors. Even that woman was a Dao Integration expert and should be far stronger than her. She had the same thought as the others. So what if it was like this? The Grand Change Realm's Yin Xingwen alone could suppress several Dao Integration Holy Emperors on their side. Moreover, the Grand Change Realm had brought hundreds of Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors. The Grand Change Realm's primordial chaos holy emperors, plus the unknown people around Ning Cheng, probably only numbered about 100. Ning Cheng said calmly, I don't even have 10% confidence. This isn't the first time. We can use our hidden trap and kill a ray to trick the other party. I've said it before. Even if I have no confidence, I will not give up resistance since I was born in the Grand Essence Realm. If you want to set foot in the Grand Essence Realm, you will have to step over me. Ning Cheng's words made Shi Yiqing frown slightly, but many of the Grand Essence Dao Court's holy emperors enthusiastically supported him. The reason why the Grand Essence Realm could reach where it was today was because of Ning Cheng's determination to protect the Grand Essence Realm. If they could stop the Grand Change Realm's invasion this time, the Grand Essence Realm would rise to another level. Kang Shushan didn't speak. He even nodded. Only he knew that the Dao Integration Holy Emperors in the Grand Essence Realm weren't too far off from the Grand Change Realm. In addition to him and Shi Yiqing, Chu Manhe, who was next to Ning Cheng, was definitely a powerhouse among powerhouses. There was also a hidden powerhouse, Shao Qiandong, who wasn't sitting here. In this way, the Grand Essence Realm had 4 Dao Integration Holy Emperors. Even if they used the defense array and trap and kill array, they might not necessarily be able to stop Yin Xingwen. This matter was too big. Shuang, who was still in the second heaven's blight, also came to this Dao court meeting. He walked out after hearing Ning Cheng's words. Just as he was about to speak, a clear voice suddenly rang in everyone's ears. Ning Cheng, you have 2 hours to come out of the Grand Essence defense array and face me. Otherwise, my Grand Change Dao Court army will turn the entire Grand Essence realm into dust. It's Yin Xingwen. Shi Yiqing's expression changed slightly. She had a deep fear of Yin Xingwen. In her heart, Yin Xingwen was an invincible existence. Chapter 1167. Ning Cheng laughed and stood up. Since you're here, let's go and meet them. Court Masterly, although the Grand Essence Dao Court army doesn't have many people, we can't lose our momentum. Ning Cheng knew that he wasn't as strong as the other party, but he didn't want to lose his momentum. Before the meeting in the throne room, he had discussed a countermeasure with Chu Manhe and the Black and White Beards. However, this countermeasure had to suppress all the Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors and Dao Unification Holy Emperors to deal with the Grand Change Dao Court army. Now that the other party had too many Dao Unification and Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors, it would be difficult to suppress them. Li Feng understood what Ning Cheng meant. He, the other 9 court masters, and Bai Xia all stood up and expressed their support for the Dao Lord's decision. After Ning Cheng and the Grand Essence Realm's experts walked out of the defense array, they saw an endless Dao court army. The army was dense and continuous, like the waves in the sea, undulating majestically. Under the suppression of the Dao court army, the void square outside the Grand Essence Realm only had a few scattered corners. A middle-aged Confucian stood at the front, and behind him were hundreds of powerful auras with Dao runes. Seeing Ning Cheng come over, the middle-aged Confucian said in a calm voice, "You must be Pill Sage Ning, who won the top 3 in the 5 Realms Pill competition." Pill Sage Ning is really young and promising. Not only is he the Grand Essence Pill Association's leader, but he also established the Grand Essence Dao Court in the Grand Essence Realm. Ning Cheng didn't salute. His gaze swept across the Dao Court army behind the middle-aged Confucian and then fell on the hundreds of powerful primordial chaos holy auras behind the middle-aged Confucian. After a while, his gaze finally fell on Yin Xingwen. You're Yin Xingwen, the Grand Change Realm Master, one of the strongest Dao unification experts in the Grand Change Realm? Yin Xingwen snorted when he heard Ning Cheng's words. Whether in terms of seniority or age, Ning Cheng and he weren't on the same level. No matter why Yin Xingwen was standing here, Ning Cheng should first salute him with cupped fists before speaking politely. Yin Xingwen ignored the rude Ning Cheng and said to Ao Beijiang next to him, "Beijiang, I finally understand why you brought the Dao Court army to the Grand Essence Realm. The Grand Essence Realm is not terrible. What's terrible is that the Grand Essence Realm has such an arrogant person. If this arrogant person continues, sooner or later, he will bring disaster to the 5 Grand Essence Realm." Before Ao Beijiang could speak, Feng Xian chimed in from the side, "This person is not only arrogant but also shameless. He stole my boundless palace's mountain river dipper through a sneak attack, and similarly used despicable means to steal Brother Beijiang's things. Even when facing the advance of the Dao court's army, this person still had the mentality of launching a sneak attack. The few of them spoke through the Dao charm aura. Although it was just a few ordinary words, everyone outside the Grand Essence realm could hear them clearly. Up, S Feng, the, S Cheng. Master, S Cheng, Sex, T, S Say. Cheng, S, Wen, S Cheng, S T, Cheng, I Cheng, T Chen, Long, T, Cheng, I Cheng, T, Cheng, Up, Cheng. T. If we don't kill such a vicious person, our 5 great realms will never have a peaceful day. After Yin Xingwen said this, countless soldiers of the Tai Dao court began to echo him. Kill the villains. Don't disturb the stability of the 5 great realms. Ning Qing knew about Yin Xingwen's idea, which was to instigate the war. He also spoke up loudly, "Yin Xingwen, as the master of a realm, you actually mobilized the Dao court army to invade my Grand Essence realm for your own benefit. Didn't Feng Xian willingly use the news of the Chaos Tree to get you to leave the Grand Essence realm after I killed countless invaders from the Realmless Palace? Don't make it sound so grand, as if you're a saint." Ning Cheng's voice was also sent out using his Dao runes. All the Dao court's soldiers who were inciting to kill Ning Cheng quietened down at this moment. There was no doubt that Ning Cheng's words were more convincing. It was normal for Yin Xingwen to mobilize the Dao court army to attack the Grand Essence realm for the sake of the Chaos Tree. Just as Yin Xingwen had said, it was strange that the Dao court army had been mobilized to break the seal of the underground abyss for Ning City. Even the several Dao Unification Holy Emperors who came with Yin Xingwen also thought that this was the real reason. No wonder Yin Xingwen was willing to take out the Chaos Aura and even made the biggest sacrifice. It turned out to be for the Chaos Tree. Who wouldn't want this thing? Yin Xingwen felt something wrong with everyone's aura and secretly cursed in his heart. Most of what he said had a basis, but Ning Qing didn't play cards according to common sense. It was simply nonsense. Chaos Tree. If there was a Chaos Tree. Yin Xingwen paused slightly as he thought of this. He even felt a little scared. He found that Ning Cheng's nonsense was just right. If there was a Chaos Tree, he would have mobilized the Dao court army to destroy the Grand Essence realm and snatch the Chaos Tree back. In any case, he couldn't let Ning Qing continue. Just as he was about to issue an order, Feng Xian's face suddenly changed and turned pale in an instant. Feng Xian was a Dao Unification Holy Emperor, and an extremely powerful Dao Unification Holy Emperor. Feng Xian was indispensable in Yin Xingwen's attack plan. Now that Feng Xian's face changed drastically, Yin Xingwen immediately noticed it and quickly asked, "Dao friend Feng, I'm about to attack the Grand Essence defensive array. Do you need something?" Feng Xian took a deep breath and said slowly, "Realm Master Yin Xingwen, I'm going to attack the Grand Essence realm this time. My life belongs to Realm Master. No matter what Realm Master says, I, Feng Xian, will do my best." Yin Xingwen quickly said, "Since we're going to deal with the Grand Essence defensive array together, everyone will naturally work together. There's no such thing as whose life belongs to whom." Feng Xian bowed and said, "I just want to ask Realm Master one thing." As long as Realm Master agrees, Feng Xian's words will not be discounted. Yin Xingwen smiled, "Dao friend Feng, please speak. As long as I, Yin Xingwen, can do it, I will not refuse." Yin Xingwen knew Feng Xian's purpose in coming here, and he also knew what Feng Xian wanted. Therefore, he could agree to Feng Xian's request without any doubt. Feng Xian bowed again and said in a solemn tone, "Realm Master Yin Xingwen, I have 2 brothers, Feng Qi and Feng Shi. They were like brothers to me, but I felt their soul tablets shatter just now. They were killed by someone. I, Feng Xian, just want to ask Realm Master to help me once the Grand Essence realm is over." Feng Xian knew Feng Qi and Feng Shi's abilities too well. Feng Shi wasn't much of a threat, but Feng Qi was the main reason. Feng Qi was still far from Dao integration, but there weren't many people who could kill Feng Qi. Even as his brother, it wouldn't be easy for him to kill Feng Qi. The Feng clan had a trace of the ancient seven-colored phoenix's bloodline, and Feng Qi inherited the seven-colored phoenix's bloodline. He had an innate spirit power, the rainbow phoenix escape. As long as Feng Qi wanted to leave, even a Dao integration sacred emperor stronger than Feng Xian couldn't catch Feng Qi. But now, Feng Qi was killed, which showed how powerful the person who killed Feng Qi was. Even if Feng Xian went there personally, he might not necessarily be able to take revenge. Furthermore, after experiencing the Great Essence Realm incident, Feng Xian's confidence had already suffered a blow that he didn't even realize. Even a small Ning city could stop the Boundless Palace's invasion, let alone the mysterious expert who killed Feng Qi in Heavens Beyond. Yin Xingwen, who didn't care, nodded and asked, "May I know where Feng Qi and Feng Shi died?" "If I, Yin Xingwen, can help, I naturally won't refuse." Feng Xian took a deep breath and said word by word, "Feng Qi and Feng Shi went to Heavens Beyond at my request. I didn't hear from them after that. Not long ago, I received news that their soul tablets had shattered." "Heavens Beyond?" Ao Beijiang, who was standing next to Yin Xingwen, asked in surprise. Feng Xian nodded. "That's right. Feng Qi and Feng Shi's soul tablets shattered, so they must have died in Heavens Beyond. I'm afraid that the person who sealed Feng Qi's escape and killed him isn't weaker than me. Therefore, I want to ask Xingwen Realm Lord for help." Yin Xingwen nodded. "I know about Heavens Beyond. I've been there once, and it's a little strange. It doesn't matter. After we break the Grand Essence Defense Array, I'll definitely find time to go to Heavens Beyond with Daoist Feng." Ao Beijiang opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something but didn't say anything in the end. He also knew that this was not the time to talk. Feng Xian had played a very important role in Yin Xingwen's decision to break the Grand Essence Defense Array. "Thank you, Xingwen Realm Lord. Feng Xian will definitely do his best to help you break the Grand Essence Defense Array." Feng Xian hurriedly thanked him. The recent series of blows had made him, who was once the supreme Boundless Palace Lord, lose all his confidence. Yin Xingwen nodded, raised his hand, and waved several array flags before saying, "Beijiang will take the front, Weisheng will take the back, Chu Bai and Xian will take the side, and I'll take the center. 40 million Dao court troops will attack the Grand Essence Defense Array with all their might. The rest will press forward at any time." The 5 Dao integration experts attacked at the same time. Yin Xingwen might have used array flags to coordinate with them. In fact, Yin Xingwen had used brute force to attack and had nothing to do with array formations. Since Ning Cheng could arrange such a realm defense array, his array Dao must be extraordinary. As the realm lord of a realm, Yin Xingwen naturally wouldn't use his shortcomings against the enemy's strengths. He used brute force. As long as the Grand Essence realm wasn't as strong as him, he could only rely on brute force. Ning Cheng, who stood at the edge of the Grand Essence realm's defense array, frowned when he saw Yin Xingwen's actions. His confinement killing array was strong, but it was a pity that Yin Xingwen didn't enter his confinement killing array. Ning Cheng only had 2 ways to stop this brute force attack. The first way was to use brute force and send 5 Dao integration experts and hundreds of primordial chaos sacred emperors. Naturally, he would also need to use tens of millions of Dao court troops. In this way, the pressure on the Grand Essence defense array would be minimized. Similarly, the Grand Essence defense array wouldn't play much of a role. The second way was to use the Grand Essence defense array to block Yin Xingwen's brute force attack. However, no matter how strong the Grand Essence realm's defense array was, it would break one day. This was mainly because the strength of the Grand Essence realm's Dao court troops was too different from the Grand Change realm's Dao court troops. While Ning Cheng frowned, the Grand Change Dao court troops and countless primordial chaos sacred emperors had already begun to attack the Grand Essence defense array under the command of Yin Xingwen and several other Dao integration experts. Chapter 1168. In the face of such a strong attack, Ning Cheng could only rely on the Grand Essence Realm Protection Array and mobilize the Grand Essence Dao Court's army to block it. Otherwise, he could only face it head-on. He, Chu Manha, and the black-white bearded man had come up with a moving trapping array method. This moving trapping array not only required more than 1,000,000 array Dao experts, but it also required 2 super-powerful array Dao sacred emperors. Ning Cheng was prepared for more than 100 array Dao experts. The Grand Essence Dao Court's Sha Sujuan was all array Dao masters. As for the 2 super array Dao experts, Ning Cheng was one, and the black-white bearded man was the other. However, this method had to first trap the 5 Dao integration experts and the hundreds of primordial essence sacred emperors on the other side. Therefore, this method was also very difficult. There was a huge gap between Tai Su's strength and Tai Yi's strength. If they didn't rely on the Grand Essence Realm Protection Array, Tai Su's less than 20 million Dao Court army probably wouldn't last long. Tens of millions of Dao Court army clashed together, and the Dao runes of space instantly became chaotic. All kinds of Dharma treasures and divine essence exploded, and the entire void made a tearing sound. Even though the surrounding void was extremely tough, there were occasional spatial cracks caused by the explosion of law power. Some Dao Court army cultivators were sucked into the spatial cracks and soon disappeared. Although the Grand Essence Realm had the help of the Grand Essence Realm Protection Array, there were too many Dao Court army in the Grand Change Realm. Their overall strength was also stronger than the Grand Essence Realms. In addition, the Primordial Essence Sacred Emperors were far stronger than the Grand Essence Realm. Therefore, the Grand Essence Realm suffered more casualties when the two sides collided. Looking at Yin Xingwen in the middle and the 4 armies constantly pouncing on the Grand Essence Realm Protection Array, Ning Cheng's face turned a little ugly. The only way to stop the madness of the Grand Change Dao Court army was to stop the 5 Dao Integration Sacred Emperors. Ning Cheng, I'm afraid we can't go on like this. No matter how strong the Grand Essence Realm Protection Array is, it can't withstand such a powerful continuous attack. When the Grand Essence Dao Court army collapses, the Grand Essence Realm Protection Array will also collapse. At that time, I'm afraid the entire Grand Essence Realm will be crushed by the Grand Essence Dao Court army. Chu Manha stood beside Ning Cheng and shook her head. Ning Cheng sighed, I also know that most of the opposing Primordial Chaos Holy Emperors have yet to take action. Once our Primordial Chaos experts make a move, not only will the other party's Primordial Chaos experts go all out, but the 5 Dao integration experts will also not hold back. At that time, the other party will suppress us with full force. However, there was one more sentence that Ning Cheng did not say. He learned about Yin Xingwen's strength from Li Feng and Kang Xiushan. He knew that Yin Xingwen was too terrifying. Even Chu Manha might not be his match. Peng Yuan, who was standing next to Chu Manha, spoke up in a deep voice, Ning Cheng, I think what Dao friend Chu said is right, this can't go on. Yin Xingwen, the Grand Change Realm Lord, should be the strongest among all the Dao integration experts. Why don't you leave Yin Xingwen to me and let Daoist Yan and Daoist Wan hold back Feng Xian? Only by delaying the 5 enemy Dao integration stage super mighty figures can you and the black-white beard execute our plan, Chu Manha continued. Ning Cheng did not speak. He knew what Chu Manha meant. In fact, Ning Cheng did not think that it would be a problem to let Yan Bin and Wan Yi hold back Feng Xian. The problem was that Shuri Qing and Kang Xiushan might not be the opponents of the other 2 Dao integration sacred emperors in the Grand Change Realm. Even Chu Manha herself might not be able to deal with Yin Xingwen. Once another Dao integration sacred emperor died on Grand Su's side, it would be a complete defeat. No matter how strong Grand Su's defense array was, it would not be able to hold on. Crack! An explosive sound rang out, and Ning Cheng's heart sank. He knew that this was not the way to go, but he had not expected the defense array to be so fragile. How long had it been? Cracks could appear in the array. Although his defense array could repair itself, that was only if no one attacked. Chu Manha did not wait any longer. Her figure flashed, and she rolled up the 9 profound beads in her hand. The 9 profound beads brought 9 rays of brilliance and fell towards Yin Xingwen in the middle. Ning Cheng cursed inwardly. Even if he had to make a move, he would not let Chu Manhe attack Yin Xingwen. This did not fit his plan. Even if Chu Manhe was no worse than Yin Xingwen, he would not get any benefits. According to his plan, he would let Chu Manhe attack one of the other 4 Dao integration sacred emperors instead of letting Chu Manhe deal with Yin Xingwen. This was like a Tianji horse race. Chu Manhe was the strongest on his side. If she could kill one of the other Dao integration sacred emperors by surprise, things would be much easier. Moreover, the possibility of this happening was very high. One was that Chu Manhe was very strong, and the other was that when Chu Manhe attacked, he could use the realm protection array to block the other 4 Dao integration sacred emperors for a breath of time. A breath of time was very short, and for a Dao integration sacred emperor, too many things could happen in a breath of time. Unfortunately, Chu Manhe did not do as he thought and chose to attack the strongest Yin Xingwen. Ning Qing sighed. He knew that Chu Manhe was proud. If this woman was not so proud, she would not have been trapped in the perpetual moon gate by the perpetual moon holy emperor. A white pillar of light rose from the void, like a heavenly dragon spitting water, and enveloped Yin Xingwen. Chu Manhe immediately used her great divine ability, heaven-splitting 9 pearls. The power of this divine ability was that it suddenly extracted all the laws in the entire space at the same time. In this extracted space, everything would be crushed into nothingness. If Chu Manhe had used this ability on another Dao integration stage Holy Emperor, then she might have been able to succeed. However, Yin Xingwen was too powerful, and even Chu Manhe's surprise attack was unable to pose any threat to him. Boom! The power of the Dao runes and laws in the void exploded, and Yin Xingwen flew backward with disheveled hair. Although he was a bit embarrassed by Chu Manhe's sudden attack, he managed to block Chu Manhe's heaven-splitting 9 pearls. Chu Manhe's heart sank. She knew that she had underestimated this realm lord. It was impossible to sneak attack again. At this time, she could only use all her strength to fight Yin Xingwen. For a moment, the Dao runes crisscrossed, and the power of laws stimulated a new space. In this space, Chu Manhe and Yin Xingwen were fighting. The other Dao integration stage holy emperors of the Great Change realm naturally had to help Yin Xingwen kill Chu Manhe. At this moment, Ning Qing didn't need to speak at all. On the Grand Essence realm side, Kang Xiushan blocked Feng Xian, Yan Binji and Wan Yi blocked Wei Xinghao, and Shuriqing stepped forward to block Chu Bai. Ning Qing saw that Xiao Qiandong did not move, while Ao Beijiang had no one to stop him. Instead, he rushed towards Chu Manhe. Ning Qing felt both anger and anxiety in his heart. The person they invited was indeed unreliable. At this critical moment, Xiao Qiandong actually didn't come. This was simply terrible. Once Ao Beijiang and Yin Xingwen killed Chu Manhe, his Grand Essence realm would lose. Chu Manhe was weaker than Yin Xingwen to begin with. Now that Ao Beijiang was added to the mix, what was the point of fighting? Ning Qing no longer cared about anything else. Rushing out of the defensive array, he brought out the 5th reincarnation bridge and blasted it towards Ao Beijiang. He had to stop Ao Beijiang. Otherwise, it would be over if Ao Beijiang attacked Chu Manhe. As long as Chu Manhe got injured, the Grand Essence realm would still lose. A long, orange-colored stone arch bridge stretched across the sky. The bridge's body was mottled with vicissitudes, and it looked extremely dilapidated. The black mist under the bridge formed a huge millstone. Every time the millstone moved, it felt as if countless life forces were sucked away. The surroundings looked even more deathly still. The stone millstone grinded away countless life forces, forming a tumbling deathly aura. The power of Dao charm permeating into one's soul started to spread out. Reincarnation, reincarnation, the body can go, but the person cannot live. The power of Dao charm gathered the moment Ao Beijiang rushed towards Chu Manhe. Together with the black mist millstone, it crushed towards Ao Beijiang. The 5 scribbled words on the 5th reincarnation bridge trembled slightly at the bridgehead. This scene instantly attracted the attention of the entire battlefield. Ao Beijiang paused for a moment, but his eyes immediately showed a look of surprise and fanaticism. At this moment, killing Chu Manhe was secondary. Killing Ning Cheng was the most important thing. Now that Ning Cheng rushed out of the protective array, if he didn't take action, when would he wait? No wonder Ning Cheng could walk away from the demonic creatures in the underground abyss. It turned out to be because of the Seven Bridges spirit technique. Not to mention Ao Beijiang, even Yin Xingwen, who was suppressing Chu Manhe, had a fiery look in his eyes. Ning Cheng really had a lot of secrets. He even had 7 bridges. The Dao charm of the spirit technique, which blasted towards Chu Manhe, instantly changed directions and blasted towards Ning Cheng's 5th reincarnation bridge. Boom! The violent power of the Dao charm laws slammed into the reincarnation bridge, causing it to tremble and make cracking sounds. Ning Cheng hadn't even received the full force of the Dao charm laws when the Dao charm laws around him collapsed. Even his spirit essence had automatically dissipated. When the violent power of the Dao charm returned, he felt as if a pair of scissors were constantly cutting his meridians and sea of consciousness. Crack. Puff. The 5th reincarnation bridge didn't suck Ao Beijiang into it and grind him into nothingness. When Ao Beijiang's power of the Dao charm laws slammed into it, the 5th reincarnation bridge and the black millstone cracked apart. Ning Cheng, who had merged with the 5th reincarnation bridge, spat out several mouthfuls of blood and flew backwards. Ao Beijiang's Dao charm locked onto all the laws in the void around Ning Cheng. While still in the void, Ning Cheng knew that things weren't looking good. He was getting further and further away from the defensive array, and Ao Beijiang was determined to kill him. Even he didn't know how to avoid Ao Beijiang's attack. Because of Ning Cheng's attack, Ao Beijiang's pressure on Chu Manhe relaxed slightly. She really wanted to help Ning Cheng, but Yin Xingwen was holding her back. She couldn't leave at all. Xiao Qiandong frowned. He didn't know if he should help or not. According to their original plan, Grand Essence would quickly collapse under the suppression of the Grand Change Realm's army, and he would save Ning Cheng when he collapsed. Ning Cheng and his Grand Beginning Alliance had a pact. It would be much easier for him to save Ning Cheng than to inexplicably save him. But things were not what he had imagined at all. The Grand Essence Realm had not only temporarily blocked the attack of the Tai Dao Court Army, but even the battle between the Primordial Chaos Realm and the Dao Integration Realm was not as easily defeated as he had imagined. Ning Cheng didn't know where he had invited many unfamiliar Dao fusion powerhouses, but these Dao fusion powerhouses completely crushed the Grand Change Realm's Dao fusion Holy Emperors. Now, the Grand Change Realm only relied on numbers to suppress them, not strength. Boom! Just when Ao Beijiang was about to hit Ning Cheng again, another violent power of the laws swept over from the side of the void. This power directly shattered Ao Beijiang's binding power over the void and blocked Ao Beijiang's path. Then, Ao Beijiang was sent flying back. Who is it? Who wants to intervene in my Grand Change Realm's affairs? Ao Beijiang roared. Tai Su Qinglan. A lazy voice came over. Chapter 1169. Ao Beijiang's mind buzzed when he heard Tai Su Qinglan's name. He didn't even think about it and raised his hand to slap a talisman on his forehead. Perhaps no one had heard of the name Qinglan now, but many years ago, everyone knew that there was a Qinglan in Tai Su. After transcending the second Dao integration stage, Qinglan wanted to go to the Great Change Realm to find a way to the 3rd step. However, Great Essence Realm Lord Yin Xingwen didn't allow him to enter. At that time, Yin Xingwen and 3 Dao Integration Holy Emperors had joined forces to deal with Qinglan. Although Qinglan was severely injured in the end, the Great Change Realm lost a Dao Integration expert. Yin Xingwen and the other 2 were also injured. After Qinglan suffered severe injuries, he didn't return to the Grand Essence Realm. Instead, he left the 5 Grand Realms and went to a more distant interface to find opportunities for the 3rd step Dao confirming realm. In short, he disappeared. It would be strange if Ao Beijiang wasn't afraid of Qinglan's sudden appearance. He didn't think that he was a match for Grand Change Realm Lord Yin Xingwen. Furthermore, Yin Xingwen and the other Dao integration stage Holy Emperors were all being held back, so it would be strange if anyone came to help him. Moreover, so many years had passed. Who knew if Qinglan had reached the third step of Dao validation? Ao Beijiang had managed to escape countless times in the void by relying on his nimble mind. He activated an escape talisman without hesitation after hearing Qinglan's name. At the same time that the escape talisman transformed into a blood-colored light when it was stuck to his glabella, two grey Daoist runes continued to wrap around Ao Beijiang's body, sweeping up a blood-colored light. After the splatter of blood, Ao Beijiang vanished into thin air. What a rat, running so fast. Qinglan mocked the void. From Ningcheng bringing out the fifth reincarnation bridge, to Ao Beijiang attacking Ningcheng, to Qinglan's sudden appearance and Ao Beijiang's escape, the whole process could only be described as a gap. After these things happened, Yin Xingwen immediately knew that Dao integration's strength had changed. He had fought Qinglan before, and Qinglan's strength was definitely not weaker than his. Moreover, he had no idea how much Qinglan had improved over the years. Yin Xingwen could only look down on Qinglan for sending Ao Beijiang flying with a single move. His target was Ao Beijiang. He could have held Qinglan off for a while, but the guy was so afraid of death that he'd rather be heavily injured than flee. When Xiao Qiandong saw Qinglan appear and Ao Beijiang escape, he knew that the Grand Essence Realm wouldn't lose this war. He also took out his magic treasure and attacked Chu Bai. Shuriqing clearly couldn't block Chu Bai. If this continued, Shuriqing would be the first to be killed. Yin Xingwen could only sigh helplessly when Qinglan and Xiao Qiandong appeared. If another Dao integration stage super mighty figure were to perish, then the Tai Su army would have suffered a crushing defeat. Before he set out, he didn't expect the Grand Essence Realm to be this powerful. He had no idea where Ningcheng found the dozens of powerful primordial chaos sacred emperors of unknown origins. Just as Yin Xingwen was about to call them to stop, another battleship flew over from afar. The battleship stopped outside the battlefield at an extremely fast speed. Lu Dongzi appeared at the front of the battleship and shouted at Ningcheng, who was standing by the defense array. "Brother Ningcheng, I, Lu Dongzi, am here to help you." As he spoke, dozens of primordial chaos experts rushed out of the battleship, took out their magic treasures, and joined the melee. Lu Dongzi's group was all primordial chaos sacred emperors. None of them were Dao integration experts, nor did they bring the Dao court army. Clearly, they didn't come on behalf of the Grand Beginning Realm. Yin Xingwen's heart sank. The Grand Essence Realm had the upper hand. The Grand Essence Realm's Dao court army was far more numerous than the Grand Essence Realm's. However, there was another more important reason. The Grand Essence Realm's Dao integration sacred emperors had the upper hand, and the primordial chaos experts were suppressing the Grand Essence Realm. Now that Qinglan had come and Ao Beijiang had escaped, coupled with the help of Lu Dongzi and dozens of primordial chaos sacred emperors, the difference in strength was immediately revealed. It wasn't too obvious now. Once Qinglan stopped one of the Dao integration sacred emperors, the Grand Essence Realm's Dao integration experts would deal with the primordial chaos sacred emperors. "Dao Lord Ning, everyone stop. Since Daoist Qinglan is here, let's sit down and negotiate," Yin Xingwen said decisively. Ningcheng ignored Yin Xingwen's words and said loudly, "Thank you, Brother Lu, for coming all the way here to help." After saying that, his tone became even more intense. "The Grand Essence Realm's Dao court army is shameless. They want to attack our land, kill our cultivators, and rob our resources. In order to protect us, Senior Qinglan, who lives in seclusion in the Grand Essence Realm, has also come. Taisha and Taichu have both come to help. Now, it's finally our turn to attack. Daoist Black and White, follow me. Sha Su, mobilize the 10th Dao Court Army and lead the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court Army to attack and destroy the Grand Essence Realm's invading trash. Destroy the Grand Essence Realm's trash." Ning Cheng's words stirred up nearly 20 million Grand Essence Dao Court Army to counterattack. Under the guidance of Sha Su's army's array flags, the Grand Essence Dao Court Army, which originally relied on array formations to resist, suddenly scattered. The Grand Essence Dao Court Army was also led by a Primordial Essence Holy Emperor. Once the Grand Essence Tao Court army fell into chaos, the primordial essence Holy Emperor of the Grand Essence Tao Court knew that something was wrong and wanted to change the array. However, the Grand Essence Tao Court army, Ning Cheng and Black and White Beard, were the two experts presiding over the array formation shift. Moreover, there were more than 10 million Grand Essence Tao Court army led by more than 1 million array formation masters. The Grand Essence Tao Court army, on the other hand, was a mix of people from several major Tao courts. Previously, they used their strength to suppress the Grand Essence realm, making it impossible for the Grand Essence realm to change the array formation. Now that the Primordial Essence Holy Emperor and Tao Unification Holy Emperor couldn't gain the upper hand, the Grand Essence realm was about to turn from defense to offense. Even though they knew, the Grand Essence Holy Emperor of the Grand Essence realm couldn't respond in the same short period of time. Sure enough, the chaotic array formation of the Grand Essence Tao Court army was reorganized in a short time. The Grand Essence Tao Court army followed Sha Su's array formation masters out of the defense array and immediately began to interweave. As the person in charge of this battle, Yin Xingwen naturally saw the changes in the Grand Essence Tao Court army and the Grand Essence Tao Court army. Although Chu Manhe wasn't as good as him, she wasn't weak either. The more anxious he was, the easier it was for Chu Manhe. Just as Chu Manhe was thinking about how to injure Yin Xingwen, a voice came over. "Leave Yin to me. You deal with the rest." Along with the voice came two completely different Dao runes. Chu Manhe didn't care about these two Dao runes. She knew that the person who came was Qing Lan. She had also seen the process of Qing Lan pushing Ao Beijiang away. This person's strength might be above hers. Therefore, when Qing Lan came over, she immediately dodged and pounced on Wei Xinghao. Yan Binji and Wan Yi were half-step Dao integration experts and were veteran experts. However, the two of them still struggled to deal with Wei Xinghao. Yan Binji was even seriously injured. Chu Manhe was already far stronger than Wei Xinghao. Now that she joined the battle, the pressure on Wei Xinghao suddenly increased. The Jade Clear Dao Court's Dao Lord Yi Qianhua, who was suppressed by Perpetual Moon Sex Wu Lin, felt extremely anxious when the Grand Essence Dao Court switched from defense to offense. Now that he saw the Jade Clear Dao Court's Dao Integration Guardian Wei Xinghao in danger, he immediately thought of retreating. Originally, the Jade Clear Dao Court had sent out their army because the Grand Essence realm was bound to lose. Now, it seemed that the Grand Essence realm was getting stronger and stronger. If the Tai Dao Court army continued to fight, the consequences would be really unpredictable. If they didn't retreat at this time, the Jade Clear Dao Court might really suffer heavy losses. It wasn't worth it to stay here for a little bit of primal chaos chi. Jade Clear Dao Court army, retreat immediately. Wei Xingwading Guardian army, retreat. Yi Qianhua was extremely decisive. After deciding to retreat, he immediately issued a retreat order. The Taixien Dao Court had originally sent 1 million Dao Court army symbolically. In their opinion, it would be too easy for the Grand Change realm to crush the Grand Essence realm. The Taixien Dao Court's Dao Lord Jie Xinshui originally didn't intend to send an army. Now that he had sent an army, it was just for show. That was why they were only doing some symbolic attacks from the corners. Now that the Grand Essence realm was getting stronger and stronger, the Jade Clear Dao Court's main force had already retreated. If the Taixien Dao Court stayed here, they would be courting death. Almost at the same time that Yi Qianhua issued the retreat order, the Taixien Dao Court's army also issued the retreat order. Once tens of millions of people retreated, the whole scene became even more chaotic. Ning Cheng and the Black and White Beard man secretly sighed in pity. Yi Qianhua was too decisive and retreated too quickly. Their trap and kill array couldn't even move in time. Lei Xiuran of the Cloudlight Dao Court was greedy. Although he felt that the Grand Essence realm was moving the trap and kill array, he still wanted to use the gap in the Grand Essence realm to rush out of the defense array to defeat the Grand Essence realm army in one go. Lei Xiuran's idea wasn't wrong. If there was no array Dao expert like the Black and White Beard man to guide them, and if the Jade Clear Dao Court's tens of millions of Dao Court army hadn't suddenly retreated, it might really be possible. Now that the Jade Clear Dao Court army had suddenly retreated, the Taixien Dao Court army had also suddenly retreated, which suddenly caught him off guard. Before Lei Xiuran could issue the retreat order, Chu Bai in the distance let out a shrill cry. Then, thousands of Dao runes exploded in the void, and countless law auras collapsed. Under the pressure of the majestic aura, it was like a bucket of water suddenly dispersing, dissipating rapidly. These dissipated Dao runes and law auras directly tore the Dao Court army in front of them into pieces, and finally blasted on the Grand Essence Realm's Boundary Protection Grand Array, causing the Grand Essence Realm's Boundary Protection Grand Array to shake again and again. Chu Bai had died. Lei Xiuran's heart sank, and a chill surged in his heart. A Dao Integration Divine Emperor had fallen in the middle of a battle with the Dao Court army without even a chance to escape. This was too shocking. At this moment, he didn't hesitate at all and issued the retreat order without hesitation. The moment Chu Bai died, the entire Dao Court army of the Luying Dao Court descended into chaos. More than half of the Grand Essence Dao Court's confinement killing array had been shifted, and countless Dao Court army of the Luying Dao Court became powerless under the siege of the Grand Essence Dao Court army. Yi Qianhua, Wei Xinghao, and the others, who had retreated to the distance, also sighed in their hearts. From today onwards, the Luying Dao Court was completely finished. Wei Xinghao also knew that the reason why Chu Bai died was because of him. He immediately fled, but Chu Manhe didn't chase after him. Instead, she attacked Chu Bai. Chu Bai's strength was the weakest, and now that 3 Dao Integration Divine Emperors attacked him at the same time, it would be strange if he didn't die. On the other side, Feng Xian's soul had dissipated, and Chu Bai had died. When he used the escape talisman to escape, he began to swear that he would never come to the Grand Essence Realm again in this life. Chapter 1170. Of the 5 Dao Integration Sacred Emperors, only Yin Xingwen was still blocking Jia Lan. Seeing the Grand Essence Dao Court army's momentum gradually rising and forming an array to suppress them, Yin Xingwen knew that the situation was hopeless. The World Stone was good, but one had to have the ability to grab it. He then asked the Grand Essence Dao Court army to retreat. At this time, the Grand Essence Realm was still changing the trap and kill array. If they waited any longer, they might not even have the chance to retreat. Even the Realm Lord Yin Xingwen retreated. The Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army retreated frantically. At this time, no one cared about the Dao Court army's momentum and coercion anymore. Countless means of retreat were used, and for a moment, the space law was in chaos. All kinds of escape lights and Dao runes crisscrossed in the blood mist. All the cultivators with means had escaped. Those who didn't have time to escape had been trapped by the Grand Essence Dao Court army led by Ning Cheng and the Black and White Beards through the trap and kill array. The Tai Dao Court army had nearly 50 million soldiers. Of the 40 million soldiers who participated in the battle, almost all the experts at the second step of Dao proving had retreated. Nearly 20 million soldiers were trapped by the trap and kill array. The Grand Essence Dao Court army in the trap and kill array could only face the Grand Essence Realm. In the trap and kill array, Dao runes roared and magic treasures flashed. The space became chaotic. After the experts died, the light of Dao runes and the power of law continued to dissipate. Screams and the smell of blood mixed together, making the surrounding void seem a little cold. Yin Xingwen looked at the Grand Essence Dao Court army besieged in the trap and kill array with a pale face. His lips trembled. No matter how strong the Grand Essence Dao Integration Sacred Emperor was, he couldn't do anything to Yin Xingwen. However, Yin Xingwen could slaughter the Grand Essence Dao Court army. Not only Yin Xingwen, but the other Primordial Essence Sacred Emperors also had ugly expressions. They finally understood why the Grand Essence Realm could wipe out Feng Xian and the Luying Dao Court army. With this kind of strength, how difficult could it be to wipe out the entire Dao Court army? Stop! Lei Xiuran couldn't help but call out in a hoarse voice. Of the 20 million trapped Dao Court soldiers, his Cloudlight Dao Court accounted for more than 10 million. A few million belonged to the Jade Clear Dao Court. As for the Glazed Pearl Dao Court's army, most of them had already been killed. Ning Cheng's gaze swept past Lei Shuran. Lei Shuran had narrow eyes and a square face, wearing a green robe. When he saw Lei Shuran, he actually had a familiar feeling. Seeing Ning Cheng looking at him, Lei Shuran spoke up again. Dao Lord Ning Cheng, it's my fault that my Cloudlight Dao Court invaded your Grand Essence realm. As long as I, Lei Shuran, am able to do it, I, Lei Shuran, will not say no. Ning Cheng sneered. Even at this time, this fellow still did not forget to win the hearts of the people. At this moment, Silver Dragon Clan's Gong Wu suddenly came to Ning Cheng's side and whispered, Dao Lord, this Lei Shuran is the one who bought Shi Yang. I didn't expect this person to be a Dao Lord of a realm. Ning Cheng suddenly understood, no wonder he felt that it was somewhat familiar. Back then, Gong Wu had told him that the person who had bought released soil from the Thousand Thunder Void City was someone with narrow eyes, a square face, a green robe, and his surname was Lei. Many thanks, Court Pillar Gong. After Ning Cheng thanked Gong Wu, he looked at Lei Shuran and said with a smile, I heard that Dao Lord Lei bought a piece of released soil from the Thousand Thunder Void City many years ago. If Dao Lord Lei can give me this piece of released soil and give me 100 top-grade divine spiritual veins and 100,000 high-grade divine spiritual veins, this matter is not non-negotiable. Lei Shuran looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. It wasn't that Ning Cheng's asking price was too high, but Ning Cheng's asking price was too low. Apart from the preciousness of released soil, Ning Cheng's asking price really wasn't high. After hearing Ning Cheng's words, Lei Shuran didn't even try to bargain and said without hesitation, deal. After that, he threw a ring to Ning Cheng without hesitation, as if he didn't care if Ning Cheng went back on his words. Ning Cheng was also a Dao Lord of a realm, so he naturally wouldn't go back on his words because of this. When he found that the ring Lei Shuran handed him did indeed contain 100 top-grade divine spiritual veins and 100,000 high-grade divine spiritual veins, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. These Dao Lords were truly rich. Most importantly, one of the jade boxes contained Shi Yang. Lei Shuran felt very proud that Shi Yang was given away so easily. The last time he obtained the Luying Dao Court's Jess World, he didn't open it and gave it to Yan Ji. From this, it could be seen that it contained a very rich fortune. When the time came, he would have to remind Yan Ji. Seeing Ning Cheng put away the ring, Lei Shuran suddenly said, I have an additional piece of news for Dao Lord Ning. The Thousand Leaps Void City doesn't just have my released soil. If Dao Lord Ning goes to the Thousand Leaps Void City in the future, you will definitely gain a lot. Ning Cheng knew that even if Lei Shuran was telling the truth, he didn't have any good intentions in his words. He didn't care about Lei Shuran's meaning. Instead, he threw out an array flag, opened a gap in the trap and killing array, and said, All Cloudlight Dao Court's Dao Court army, leave now. I'll give you half an incense stick's worth of time. If you haven't walked out of the trap and killing array after half an incense stick's worth of time, the array will close again. All Dao Court's soldiers who want to fish in troubled waters will be killed directly. Ning Cheng's last sentence made the Jade Clear Dao Court and Luying Dao Court's remaining Dao Court army not dare to move. Now that the Dao Court army in the trap and killing array was clearly separated, anyone who moved would be seen immediately. Seeing the densely packed Cloudlight Dao Court's army leave the trap and killing array, Chu Manha said in confusion, Ning Cheng, it took you a lot of effort to trap these people. If you let them go for these God's spiritual veins, it's not worth it. Ning Cheng smiled, if I can trap them twice, I can trap them a third time. If they dare to come again, I will dare to trap and kill them again. Ning Cheng sent out this sentence with his Dao runes, and almost everyone could hear it. The Dao Court's army that walked out of the trap and killing array had already made up their minds. Even if they had to quit the Dao Court army, they would never come to this damned place again. Ning Cheng also knew that Chu Manha was right. If he killed all the Dao Court's army, the spoils of war would probably be far more than what he wanted. However, Ning Cheng didn't do that. Firstly, he was indeed a bit lenient. After all, he came from Earth and wasn't used to such a massacre. Secondly, he didn't think it was necessary to do so. Even if he killed the Dao Court's army in the trap and killing array, it wouldn't change the fact that the Grand Essence realm was far weaker than the Grand Simplicity realm. It would only increase the Grand Simplicity realm's desire and hatred for the Grand Simplicity realm. Besides, he had already obtained the released soil, which was the most important thing to him. Looking at the Cloudlight Dao Court's Yi Qianhua from the Jade Clear Dao Court took a deep breath and cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng from afar. Dao Lord Ning's broad-mindedness is truly admirable. Although my Jade Clear Dao Court isn't rich, we can still take out 100 top-grade God spiritual veins and 100,000 high-grade God spiritual veins. Can Dao Lord Ning please let go of my Jade Clear Dao Court's Dao Court army? Ning Cheng said in a calm voice, my Grand Simplicity realm loves peace and doesn't like killing. You, the Grand Simplicity realm, have always been aggressive. Some people even sent innocent Dao Court's army to their deaths for their own desires. Does such a person deserve to be the lord of a realm? After disdaining Yin Xingwen in public, Ning Cheng continued, Dao Lord Yi, don't forget that Thunder Dao Lord also took out a piece of released soil. Yi Qianhua showed an ugly smile and said with some difficulty, released soil is something that can only be found by chance. My Jade Clear Dao Court isn't as rich as the Cloudlight Dao Court, but I can take out half a heaven-raising Dao fruit. Heaven-raising Dao fruit? Ning Cheng's heart moved. It was a treasure that could help one comprehend the Dao unification realm. Although he didn't think he needed it, there were too many primordial chaos holy emperors in the Grand Simplicity realm who needed it. Unfortunately, there was only half a heaven-raising Dao fruit. In fact, even if one had a heaven-raising Dao fruit, the chance of comprehending the Dao unification realm was very slim, let alone half. But at the same time, even the slimmest chance was still an opportunity. Therefore, after Yi Qianhua mentioned the heaven-raising Dao fruit, it immediately attracted a lot of attention. Ning Cheng hesitated for a moment before saying, okay, half it is. Seeing the Jade Clear Dao Court and Cloudlight Dao Court's trapped army retreating, the Luying Dao Court's remaining army in the Deathtrap array suddenly panicked. Several Luying Dao Court's army wanted to follow the Jade Clear Dao Court's people. But just as they moved, they were discovered and killed. Seeing the remaining 2 to 3 million Luying Dao Court's army, Yin Xingwen knew that he couldn't pretend not to know. Helpless, he could only cup his fists towards Ning Cheng. Dao Lord Ning, can you release the Luying Dao Court's army? I'm also willing to pay the same amount of top-grade and high-grade God spiritual veins. The Luying Dao Court only had 2 to 3 million people. Yin Xingwen was willing to pay so many God spiritual veins. Apart from showing that he didn't give up on the Grand Change Dao Court's army, there was another reason. He probably wanted to arrange for someone to take over the Luying Dao Court. The Luying Dao Court had fought 2 wars, and the Dao Court's army had been completely destroyed. Not only had 2 Dao Lords fallen, but even the Dao Unification Holy Emperor had also fallen. It was the most appropriate time to take over the Luying Dao Court. Ning Cheng knew that even if he didn't agree, Yin Xingwen could still take over the Luying Dao Court. He could even save some God spiritual veins. Just as Ning Cheng was about to speak, a sound transmission suddenly fell into his ear. Yin Xingwen invited several Grand Dao Courts to send out their army mainly because he has a small jar of primal qi. This sound transmission only said one sentence before disappearing. Ning Cheng had no idea who sent it. However, Ning Cheng's heart moved. He had the 5 elemental primal qi, but he didn't have primal qi. The difference between primal qi and the 5 elemental primal qi was that primal qi wasn't fused with the 5 elemental laws. If Star One World Lord truly wants to save the Luying Dao Court's army, I would naturally be more than happy to do so. Just like the previous 2 Dao Courts, Star One World Lord has a small jar of primal qi, which he has to take out, Ning Cheng said calmly. Yin Xingwen's heart thumped. He knew that someone must have betrayed him. If he didn't take out the primal qi, he probably wouldn't be able to touch the Luying Dao Court anymore. If he didn't save the millions of Luying Dao Court's army that he could save, it would be strange if he could still take over the Luying Dao Court. Ning Cheng didn't care about Yin Xingwen's hesitation. At this moment, he finally had the time to bow to Qing Lan. Ning Cheng thanks Senior Qing Lan for saving me. I also thank Senior for helping the Grand Essence Realm. Chapter 1171. Qing Lan was tall and didn't have a beard. He looked like an ordinary middle-aged man, but the Tao charm around him was like a vast universe. He looked at Ning Cheng for a while before nodding and saying with a smile, "You're very good. You helped the Grand Essence Tao Court form the Grand Essence Tao Court army with your Tao Essence strength. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid that the Grand Essence realm would have become a tragedy." Ning Cheng also smiled. Fortunately, Senior Qing Lan arrived in time. Otherwise, I might have died here. Qing Lan also chuckled. First, I didn't arrive in time. I've been here for a long time, but I didn't make a move. Second, you don't have to play tricks in front of me. Even if I didn't come, Ao Beijiang might not have been able to kill you. Ning Cheng didn't answer. Qing Lan had arrived a long time ago, and he had already guessed it. As for what this veteran Tao integration Holy Emperor of the Grand Essence Realm was waiting for, he didn't know. However, Qing Lan's second sentence was right. Even if Qing Lan didn't come, it wouldn't be easy for Ao Beijiang to kill him. Okay, I agree. After Yin Xingwen finished speaking, he threw out a pitch-black jar and a ring. The jar contains primal chaos qi, which is also my most precious item. The ring contains God's spirit veins. Take a look. As long as you can release all the trapped Tao Court army of the Grand Change Realm, what's the harm in giving them to you? Ning Cheng grabbed the small jar and the ring and scanned them with his spiritual consciousness. He immediately knew that Yin Xingwen wasn't lying. He didn't care about Yin Xingwen's actions and opened the trap and kill Array without hesitation. Looking at the Tao Court army rushing out of the trap and kill Array, Ning Cheng knew that Yin Xingwen's status as the Realm Lord of the Grand Change Realm wouldn't fall because of this army. Instead, it would rise to another level. Before, he only relied on his own strength to become the Realm Lord. But now, he had a Tao Court that belonged to him. Realm Lord Xingwen, seeing that we are all from the 5 Grand Realms, I don't want to kill these innocent Tao Court army soldiers who were instigated by you. Otherwise, do you think you can save so many people with this little thing? I killed them, and the spoils of war I collected from them were probably more than that. But if there's a next time, don't blame me for being impolite. At that time, it won't be your Grand Simplicity Tao Court's army that comes to my Grand Simplicity realm. Instead, I will bring my Grand Simplicity army to your Grand Simplicity realm. Ning Cheng also knew that he was just saying it. As for taking the army to the Grand Change realm, he wouldn't do it unless he was crazy. The Tao Court army obviously wouldn't use their full strength to invade. Once Tai Su attacked Tai Yi, his battle prowess would increase by more than a few times with the help of the Realm Protection Grand Formation. Besides, the Grand Essence Realm had Qing Lan, and the Grand Change Realm probably had more people like Qing Lan. Yin Xingwen. Yin Yang look on. Yin Lan. Xing, Tian Xingwen, and Ti Chen, a King Dao. Giving away so many things, yet still looking at Ning Cheng and making sarcastic remarks, Yin Xingwen felt a strong sense of grievance in his heart. Qing, Dao, Ling Lord, Lan, Qing, Cheng, Long, Qing, Xing, Qing, Ti, the chaotic and murderous Grand Essence realm regained its calm once again. Even the court leaders of the Grand Essence Tao Court army came forward to salute Ning Cheng and then left with their army. Soon, only 100 people remained in this bloody void battlefield. Ning Cheng walked up to Lu Dongzi and handed the universe vegetation to Lu Dongzi with both hands. He then said gratefully, "Brother Lu, thank you for bringing people to help. If it weren't for you, I, Grand Essence, would have fallen into a more passive state. This book is finally returned to its rightful owner. Ning Cheng thanks you again." Lu Dongzi put away the universe vegetation. Ning Cheng returned and laughed. "Ning Cheng, we're close friends. Don't be so polite. It's a pity that I can't influence the Grand Beginning Realm to mobilize the army. I didn't expect your Tao Court to be so powerful. Even if I didn't come, you wouldn't be afraid of Yin Xingwen. If Brother Lu didn't come, I wouldn't be so relaxed. Let's all come to my Grand Essence Tao Court as guests. It's not good to stand outside." Ning Cheng wasn't talking nonsense. If Lu Dongsa hadn't brought dozens of primordial chaos experts, Grand Essence might have won, but it would have been difficult to trap so many Dao Court army. Under Ning Cheng's lead, the group entered the guest hall of the Grand Essence Dao Court. Lu Dongsa and the others had come to help. Moreover, the Grand Essence Dao Court had won another battle. Although they didn't kill many this time, it greatly boosted Grand Essence's morale. Ning Cheng was even more enthusiastic towards Lu Dongsa and the others. He gave them all kinds of Dao fruits just to entertain Lu Dongsa and the other holy emperors from the Grand Beginning Realm. Although Xiao Qiandong of the Grand Beginning Realm was also among Ning Cheng's welcome list, he clearly felt that Ning Cheng's welcome towards him was much less. Xiao Qiandong couldn't express his dissatisfaction. When Ning Cheng needed it most, he hesitated and didn't come forward to help. Moreover, the strength of the Grand Essence realm was far beyond his and Li Jianqing's estimation. If Grand Essence and Grand Beginning confronted each other, it was really hard to predict who would win in the end. The guests and the host enjoyed the banquet. In the end, Ning Cheng personally sent Lu Dongsa out of the Grand Essence realm. Qing Lan also exchanged information with Ning Cheng and left the Grand Essence realm. Ning Cheng could see that Qing Lan didn't think much of Kang Shushan and Shuriqing. Moreover, Shuriqing and Kang Shushan were also a little afraid of Qing Lan, so they tried not to get together. After this battle, Ning Cheng's prestige in the Grand Essence realm soared to the sky. It could be said that Dao Ning Cheng of the Grand Essence Dao Court had become a true Dao Lord at this time. As long as Ning Cheng issued a Dao Lord order, even Wang Huazhong of the River Luo sacred sect wouldn't dare to disobey the Dao Lord order. Dao Lord Ning, I have to return to the Grand Beginning realm first. When it's time to set up the teleportation array, I will come to Grand Essence to invite Dao Lord. Xiao Qiandong became more polite. He could see that Ning Cheng didn't like him. Originally, he wanted to take Ning Cheng away after the battle. But now it seemed that he shouldn't even mention it. Ning Cheng nodded, okay, then Court Pillar Li Feng, please send off Dao friend Xiao. Xiao Qiandong had helped Shuriqing a little. Otherwise, Shuriqing might have suffered some serious injuries. Therefore, even though Xiao Qiandong was a snake and a rat, Ning Cheng still politely asked Li Feng to send off Xiao Qiandong. Xiao Qiandong felt helpless in his heart. Lu Dongsa was a primordial chaos holy emperor, and yet Ning Cheng had personally sent him off. Moreover, Ning Cheng had only asked Li Feng, a court pillar, to send him off. Moreover, he could also guess that if the Grand Beginning realm really invited Ning Cheng to set up an array in the future, it wouldn't be easy to invite him. Ning Cheng had always followed this principle. How others treated him, he would treat others the same way. If Xiao Qiandong wanted to take advantage of him without putting in any effort, then he could only dream about it. Ning Cheng, let's go to the Grand Essence Sea. Seeing that Ning Cheng's matters were over, Chu Manha spoke up. Okay, let's go now. Ning Cheng was also thinking about the innate dragon bead in the Grand Essence Sea's dragon washing pool. Now that the Grand Essence realm was under his protection, the first thing he needed to do was get the innate dragon bead. Outside the Grand Essence dragon washing pool, 36 primordial chaos powerhouses stood according to their positions. Under the guidance of the Black-White Beards and Pang Yuan, each of them held an array flag in their hands. The Black-White Beards made a move, and the 36 array flags blasted into the edge of the dragon washing pool along with 36 primordial chaos law forces. The entire Grand Essence Sea began to tumble at this moment. Even the Sunken Fish Palace and the Silver Dragon Clan, which were far away from the dragon washing pool, trembled slightly. Powerhouses from these two places rushed out of their sects to find out what was going on. The Dao Charm Law forces outside the dragon washing pool continuously squeezed together, and the water vapor in the dragon washing pool instantly dried up under these law forces. The rumbling sounds grew louder and louder, and the dragon washing pool finally cracked open. A fist-sized cyan bead suddenly rose from the middle of the cracked dragon washing pool, bringing with it a myriad of pure essence qi. Ning Cheng, this is the innate dragon bead of the dragon washing pool. Hurry up and seal the innate dragon bead. Pang Yuan immediately shouted at Ning Cheng when he saw the cyan bead. Without waiting for Pang Yuan's reminder, Ning Cheng rushed up and put away the innate dragon bead. Ning Cheng naturally knew about treasures like the innate dragon bead. He had once obtained one, and the Grand Essence Trap and Kill Array Formation's core treasure was an innate dragon bead. After Ning Cheng put away the innate dragon bead, the rumbling sounds of the Grand Essence Sea immediately subsided and soon returned to normal. However, the dragon washing pool here no longer had the pure spiritual spirit essence chi from before. Only the aura of the dragon washing pool had yet to dissipate. Many thanks for your help. Otherwise, I would never have obtained this innate dragon bead. Ning Cheng held the innate dragon bead in his hand and thanked everyone with cupped fists. The black-white beards laughed. This was originally yours. The reason why we could recover so quickly is because of your dragon washing pool. Ning Cheng put away the innate dragon bead and said again, although the Grand Essence Realm's laws are incomplete, I'm still working hard. If you want to live in the Grand Essence Realm, you can look for spiritual mountains in the Grand Essence Realm. Without waiting for Ning Cheng to finish, Pang Yuan stood up. We're all friends. Let me speak this time. Everyone discussed it before. 12 of you, like me, want to stay in the Grand Essence Realm. The rest want to go to the void to look for opportunities, so we won't be staying here for the time being. When Ning Cheng heard that most people wanted to leave the Grand Essence Realm and enter the void, he felt a little reluctant in his heart. But he still spoke up, whether you leave or stay here, everyone is here to help me, Ning Cheng. In the future, you will always be my friends. I have nothing else to give you, but my friendship with Ning Cheng. Thank you, friends, for helping me, Ning Cheng. If you have any difficulties in the future, as long as you come to me, Ning Cheng, I will definitely help you. I've prepared a few rings here, each with 3 top-grade spirit veins, 1,000 high-grade spirit veins, and 100 million spirit crystals. This is a small token of my appreciation, and I hope that you won't refuse it. Everyone felt overjoyed. Ning Cheng's gift was quite generous for a person. Don't look at Tao Lords taking out IOU and top-grade spirit veins. But how many Tao Lords did they have? Most of these spirit veins were the wealth of a Tao court. More importantly, it was Ning Cheng's promise of friendship. From this battle, all the people could see that Ning Cheng's potential was huge. As a primordial chaos holy emperor, he really didn't amount to much in the endless void. Who could be sure that nothing would happen in the future? With Ning Cheng as a friend, no one would refuse. Chapter 1172. In the Grand Change Realm's main mountain, Yin Xingwen's expression was gloomy. Although the hall was full of people, the silence was somewhat oppressive. After a long time, Ao Beijiang, who was sitting a little further away, stood up. Brother Xingwen, I was too timid this time and was scared away by Qing Lan. If it wasn't for me, perhaps everyone's losses would have been smaller. As a Tao Integration Divine Emperor who had survived the second blight, it was indeed extremely embarrassing for Ao Beijiang to expose his own scars. However, he had no choice. He couldn't leave the Grand Change Realm. Since he couldn't leave, he had to bow his head to Yin Xingwen.